down at the Thompson one then?
Phyllis and Zach Smith go on.
Oh, golly, last time Zach was there and I was there, he, I really looked pretty good.
Oh, he was kind of lit up over keeping certain books out of the school.
Oh,
Libraries.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else was on the other side of it, but he was.
Yeah, I
Where was that meeting? Where was it at?
At the library in town.
At the library.
Conference room.
yeah, what they're, and the ones they're trying to keep out are just ones that are very, very inappropriate for children. I thought it was all about the kids. Anyway, last time we started that gun control. Way too polite, so I thought I'd take care of it for him.
I guess the only other person in line with him was the librarian.
Was that right?
Oh, there you go. You didn't see what the pies were today, were you? You didn't see what the pies were gonna be today, or doesn't she tell
she
you?
No, it's out until later. What did Ray Beebe do something?
He was the main lawyer for Winnebago. Yeah, he could tell a few stories about John Kay.
Sure.
I'm sure Barney could too.
What's that?
Tell a few stories about John Kay.
No, not too much with John Kay. A few of the other rascals over there.
It's interesting to listen to Ray Beebe tell
Yeah.
stories.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yes.
John V is probably the one I have the most contact with.
Yeah.
Especially spraying mosquitoes. Whenever we sprayed mosquitoes up there, he'd bring out a beer and then tell me to sit there till it was gone and let the machine run by it. Probably wouldn't get by with that today. He was a character.
Yeah, I've known a few other people like that around the county over the years.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yep.
All right, should we say the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda as presented.
Motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Discussion with possible action regarding COVID-19 policies. Let me see if Julie's on, or does anybody have any discussion about whether we need to make any changes?
Maybe we can table it for a little bit in case Julie shows up later.
Okay. Mary Lou.
Well, you all know how to read, so I'm not going to read it word for word for you, but what I did was put together a report using stats that Jackie had done from January to July. And then I did the stats for myself from October to December. Basically, to summarize, I feel like considering that it wasn't filled the whole year, we did a really good job of meeting veterans' needs. You'll see that there's about $243,000 in awards that were brought into the county through the claims. We had really good community outreach with the nursing facility, KIOW. I've gone to some events. Jackie did some events. She purchased flags that are in her office to represent the 5 branches of service, and then those are available for me now to use with outreach. We're going to be continuing our outreach efforts, and I feel like the full-time position has done a lot to help me have the time to commit to that. Her KIOW ads and then me continuing has really been advantageous because it's let the community members know so that they can tell veterans, and then it's also veterans themselves have heard that there's benefits available, and that's been bringing them into my office. Had quite a few walk-ins, and as well as a lot of phone calls of people wanting to schedule appointments. So I think that we got some good momentum going from 2021, and I'm really grateful that I'll be here all year, and it's a full-time position now. And I've got 35 active cases, which just means they're either claims have been made and I'm waiting on the VA to review, or we're still in the process of developing claims, whether it be for death benefits, pension, compensation, or health care. So my commissioners have been super supportive of me, and I'm really grateful for that, and I'm grateful for your support as well. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to.
What's a grave registration?
A grave registration is something that's mandatory. The VA keeps records of any of the deaths of veterans. So the funeral homes send me what's called a grave registration, and I have to verify that the veteran was in fact honorably discharged. I have to check their DD 214, and then it has to be sent to the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs for their records. So we were notified of 14 deaths in Winnebago County for 2021 of veterans. And then quite a few of those followed up, and either we give out grave markers based upon the war, or some of them prefer to have the branch of service, and it's a marker that goes in, and then there's a space for the flag that will go on, the small flags that will go on at Memorial Day. And then a lot of them qualify for burial benefits, and or the VA will pay for a headstone or a niche if the veteran was cremated. So not all of them follow through with that, but quite a few actually do. I get quite a few phone calls about what help is available upon the death of a veteran.
I've got one sitting at my house waiting for the thaw. So
I was going to
put it
say,
in.
that's what a lot of them do. Can I get in touch with you in March and April when it's more likely? But yeah, it's kind of a lengthy process. Actually, you have to bring them in and they choose, but then you have to have somebody sign off to accept the monument or the gravestone or marker, and you also have to have the cemetery sign off. And then if there's a cost to place that, then that goes back to the survivors. So trying to coordinate all of them gets a little tricky. But I'm actually working on 2 of them.
Because I'm all 3.
Yeah, that's very nice if you can be all 3. I have one that's actually, everything's happening in Minnesota, so it's been a little trickier, but figuring it out. But yeah, that's what the grave registrations are.
I'll just suggest if you can, I don't know if you're gonna put one up, if you can put it in the slab. Don't put it out in the grass, but take and drill a hole down. I did all of Madison House a few years ago because their flags were all getting run over and lawn into them. Just a suggestion.
Well, he's got a stone already,
Yeah.
and this will be, right next to the stone.
Yeah.
So is 14 graves, is that a lot?
I'm not really sure. I don't have any frame of reference
It seems
for
like
it.
a lot, but maybe not. I don't know. I had a couple questions for
Sure.
you about, it really doesn't, um, isn't about what you've written up, but it's more about your location and your facility.
Mhm.
Or how do you feel that works for you, and are you,
On the upside, I like that there are no steps involved except that little tiny step from the parking lot to get to my door. Quite a few of my veterans that come in have mobility issues. So I feel like that's a real positive. In an ideal world, I would love to have a facility with an office and then a gathering spot. One of the things I hope to do this year is to start a coffee and chat for veterans once a month. And Wright County has been doing this for, oh golly, over 10 years. And so they, the last Friday of the month, invite veterans to come. They have coffee and rolls. And then she usually tries to invite somebody that would be of interest to a veteran, whether it be somebody talking about pension or battle acupuncture, or maybe compensation, just something that's of interest to veterans. And it's just a good opportunity for veterans to connect, and also for veterans that maybe aren't service connected or haven't been dealing with my office yet, to just kind of come, and it's a more informal setting. So in Wright County, they actually have a large meeting area where they do a lot of their meetings, right outside her office. So they're able to come
So is that
to the same place.
specifically for that office, or is it?
No, it's actually for their whole, there's several different offices housed in this building in Wright County.
Okay.
So in a perfect world, that would be really nice, instead of having to, I'm trying to determine if like the Y would be a good place, or TSB community room, looking again for some place where there's no mobility issues. But as far as my office itself, yes, I love it. It's big enough. I have 2 chairs, and I usually don't have any more people. I have an extra chair I can pull in.
And it's beneficial to be in proximity to the public health?
Yes, that works.
so how big of a gathering spot would be?
For how many?
Yeah, for how many?
Gosh, I would love to say, 50, but I don't think I'd get that many. I would say probably 20 to 25 at least. I don't know how fast it would grow, but it'd be a great problem to have if we started it and 5 years from now it got really big and we needed to meet somewhere else. But that, again, that's just going to be something that's going to grow, I think, more and more. I still have people calling me and saying, I had somebody call Thursday and say, oh, you're not there tomorrow, right? And I said, no, I am. And he's like, you are? And I'm here 40 hours a week now. I gave him the, well, can I come tomorrow to see you? I'm like, yes, you can come tomorrow. So still running those KIOW ads, truly trying to get the word out that I am available 40 hours a week. And that there's flexibility even with that. I had somebody call and say, well, my daughter works and she wants to come with me. So we set a 4 o'clock. I said, if it goes later than that, we'll figure it out. So, but other than that, my office right now, plenty of space for what I need to do, meet comfortably with veterans in the office.
I suppose it'd be nice if you had, well, you do kind of have a waiting area outside your office.
Yeah, just a tiny little one.
Yeah,
Usually,
more of a walkway.
yeah, usually if I know somebody's gonna be coming by, I have my door open, and then I keep the door locked, and then I let them in. I have veterans that know that I'm in there, so if for some reason I have my door closed because it's cold, they'll just knock until I get up and open my office door and then go to them. Some of them are rather persistent, but in a dear way, so.
Mhm.
Thomas would have a coffee at, I think it was Bill's at that time, and Bill's would provide the coffee.
Yeah, I was thinking that see if Hy-Vee would do it, or maybe Cabin Coffee would provide it, and then, one Quick Star, Hy-Vee, Cabin to do, rolls, donuts, something like that.
And how closely do you work with Sandy Morales?
We refer each other quite a bit. In fact, I just got to meet her face to face. She was over at the health department. So she's been sending me some resources that would be helpful for my veterans. I've had to call her several times when I've had a vet that needed something that wasn't necessarily something we provided, but I thought maybe she could connect them with something. So, and then of course she's been, I found out like before I got here, she had to do a funeral for a veteran that was indigent. So, yeah, I'm getting to know her and working fairly closely with her as we have some needs that overlap, but other ones that don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say that'd be a good idea too, and then, Mary Lou, I put Mike McQuaid with Winnebago in contact with Mary Lou for Veterans Day out there at Winnebago. They'd never held one before. And they put on a coffee and a program similar to what everybody does on Memorial Day or Veterans Day. But that was, I'd say 75 to 100 people,
Yeah.
maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had a coin that they gave to each of their veterans when they left. Yeah, and I actually had a table there with just some information, and it was really good because people kind of tentatively come up and then walk away and then come back and talk to me one-on-one, answer questions, and then I had packets of information available. So quite a few took that and then called me. So that's something that they want to do annually now.
Yeah, they'll do it annually, so that's a great deal.
And
Yeah.
where is that held at?
Out at the
Friendship Hall.
Friendship Hall, I couldn't think of the name of it, yeah. They had Brad
Whatever
Jones,
they call the big building down
Yeah.
there anyway.
they had Brad Jones speak again. He'd spoken at the Veterans Day program with the American Legion at the high school at Bowman. And then they even had a couple band members come and play taps.
Nice.
And the American Legion was involved, So it was very similar to the one that's held at Bowman, only it was like a little bit more of an intimate gathering that way. And they had a really nice spread of refreshments for them, and
75 people, that's a lot of people.
it was really good.
That's great.
And they'll get bigger because it's, it was the first time they had it. And we'll get around it. But the coins are really super nice. I mean, they were the flag on one side and whatever, I don't even remember now, but they were similar to what went off with Operation LZ. So it was really
I
nice.
thought that was so interesting when you were talking about the hats, too.
Yeah.
That just really resonated with me.
Sometimes the littlest thing, I had a gentleman in Friday, and he was wearing a hat that says, if you enjoy freedom, then you need to thank a veteran. And so I said to him, did I give you a hat the last time you were here? Because a lot of these people that came in October, November, I was so new, I didn't know how to do that. I don't think so, so I pulled one out. I was just wondering what I was going to wear this summer for a hat. This is what I'll wear. And he was just so touched, and it was just really, it was just really sweet. He was just so grateful to sit down, and we were talking about what I could do to help him. And he's alone pretty much, and he's a little overwhelmed, and so yeah, it's the little things.
It is.
I'd also say that she's went around, I don't know how many, at least like when we have our breakfast on a Sunday.
done two
She's
so
been
far.
making her own still, but once
I did Forest City, and then this past Sunday I did Lake Mills, and I'm going to do Buffalo Center in March, and then I hope to do Leland in April. And that's, again, had a table and been able to talk to quite a few of the vets that help serve the breakfast, as well as vets that attend. And Dave Peterson took some of my packets of information, so he'd have them at meetings for people that weren't at the breakfast. So, yeah, the community outreach has been really good. And I'm continuing to I did the KIOW ads in November. I kind of give Carl Goldridge some talking points, and then he writes them in such a way that we can get them in the 30-second time frame. So we've done that in January and in February as well. So we've focused on like compensation, that I'm new and I'm here, just in general that there's VA benefits available and to call. So those have been very, very effective.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few of those.
Yeah, we're gonna continue with that. I'm using my state grant money for that, and yeah, I hear a lot of people say, I kept hearing this radio ad, and they said to call. Can you help me? And so then we usually set something up so they can come in and we can go over things. And
So do you kind of keep track of how they found you? Do that?
yeah, a lot of it's through the radio, and then a lot of it is vets that have been involved with my office, but then everything was quiet for a while, and I get a lot of calls from vets that new things are happening. They're getting up there in age, and I just got one that they are going to need assistance from the Iowa Vet Trust Fund. We're going to go ahead and apply for assistance for them with dental for that, because unless you're rated at 100%, the VA doesn't cover your dental, so that becomes a big expense. Especially if you're on a fixed income. Like this one vet, he needs $4,000 worth of dental work.
So that's probably a couple of years worth of stuff.
Probably. And I'm gonna be done with my training earlier than anticipated. Just found this out. It doesn't look like I'm gonna have to go to San Antonio in June. They've changed things, and so I'm gonna be doing virtual training for a week in March. And I'm in the process of finishing up another training. So I'm hoping to maybe be accredited by April or May, which will open up a lot of windows for me to be able to check on things and I think be much more effective.
That's great.
I was really excited about that.
And that'll save some money, I'm sure.
It will save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they've actually changed things quite extensively, and I may take some virtual stuff at that conference. I'm gonna let Chris Oliver kind of guide me with that. They haven't released an agenda as of yet for that, but for the things I have to have, this will be the training, and then I'll be going to Des Moines for a day to get fingerprinted and do a security check to get what's called a PIV card, and then that's kind of like the magic thing that you use to get into the websites to look at a veteran's record and help them get their claim successfully submitted.
I'm glad to see you so excited about it.
I'm very excited.
That's great. Thank you.
I guess on the board's part, that's why we're here today. You know, we would like to meet, you say when, quarterly, or whatever the case may be, to keep lines of communication open, and if you got questions, because we greatly appreciate what the county has done to make this a full-time position. And nobody had ever gone to training before we went down to training in Des Moines, so we learned a lot of lines of communication and, you know, making contact, whatever you guys want us to do, you set up a schedule, and we'll work with that, so. Pretty much it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did put in the report that that Dave and Barney went to training during fall school, and that was really helpful too. They were kind of newbies with it, and so was I, so we've been learning together.
I believe we made the right decision in making it a full-time position.
I do.
Investing in our veterans.
We're gonna work hard to make it work.
I expect all the numbers to go way up by the end of the year, and I've already started keeping like better records just because now I know what kinds of things need to be tracked. But I've already have 10 new cases this year alone. So in less than 2 months, I think that's a lot. It's good that it's a lot, but you know, brand new things coming in that need to be taken care of.
And so how do you even know that the veterans transferred into the county?
Usually they tell you, or you get a call from maybe that county, and for whatever reason they can't work with that veteran, and they call and say, hey, I'm going to refer them to your county. But I know one of Jackie's really big cases that she had, a gentleman came and Hancock said, I can't help you. And so they came to her and said, can you help? And he ended up being awarded 100% total and permanent disability. So really glad Jackie was able to help him. And we're almost done. We had referred some cases to Kasuth County because there was nobody in the office, or pensions are really time consuming. Dan Green is finishing up those. I think there's one that's pending a decision. But now he's going to be helping me, and I'll be doing pensions from now on. So I have one pending right now that he's working with me on.
Is there anything else? Any other questions for everyone?
Appreciate your time you're putting into this, the commission's time. I think it's going well.
I'm
Thank
glad you're excited about it.
you. I really am.
You guys wanna make a decision on if you want us quarterly or what you want, sometime let us know.
Report quarterly, or if this would be for the first quarter of the year?
And you don't have to make that decision right now, does he? No. Do
You
you?
can just let me know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on how much information you have to offer. I mean, if there's important things that we should know.
That's kind of what I feel.
Okay.
I wonder if maybe if you have something to tell us, if you could just call Carla and get on the agenda.
Yep.
And come
Sure
and
can do that.
share.
I'd be happy to do that.
Otherwise, I would,
We welcome you anytime.
Okay, yeah, well, let me get accredited and see how the numbers are going, and maybe that'll be the next time that I come back and share.
maybe there's some information you can, get out there through our forum here,
That might be the easiest way to do it. That way, if it's more often than quarterly, and we can be there for each other, I think that'd be great. Otherwise, if it's going smooth.
All right, that
Okay.
sounds great. Thank you for your time and thank you so much for your support.
You did
Thank you
make
very
quite
much.
an assumption at the beginning on the reading thing. Next time some pictures would be.
I'll see if I can do that for you next time.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's go back to number 2, discussion with possible action regarding COVID-19.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have absolutely nothing new. We're still, we're at 14%. I just looked this morning, and I actually have nothing new to report. So,
other than
you have any questions, Ring?
other than the governor canceled the proclamation.
Yes, that is, I think, midnight tonight.
So how does
But
that affect us? What do we need to do?
I still have to follow CDC and CMS rules.
But I wonder,
So,
does that affect our abilities to have a meeting by Zoom or anything? If we had to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I read something.
It was in the ISAC magazine.
That's what it was, yeah.
You mean it would make it so we couldn't do that anymore? We would need to meet in
I think.
person? Yeah.
Or at least a quorum of the board would have to meet, you could have the third member via Zoom or something as long as you have to have it accessible to the public, and we'd have to define that, but we're not doing it.
Well, that doesn't change our business, we've been doing it.
It's been quite a while since we did a completely Zoom meeting.
Did we ever do one?
I think did we?
I don't think so.
Early on, didn't we?
I don't think so.
I think you guys have only just called in.
And that's usually just one of us.
You may have attended some Zoom meetings.
I had other meetings that were all Zoom, but I'd never.
Right.
Do we have any other policy that we need to consider and look at then?
Probably should let our COVID policy expire.
That's what I was wondering. Do you have any input?
We have one more week to decide that for the next month.
Decide,
2 weeks or whatever. Not be one.
so leave the discussion with possible action for just one more week on that, or?
Yeah. Where things are going.
Okay. What do you think, Bill?
Fine with that.
Okay.
We'll try to bring you pictures next time.
Didn't I appreciate it?
Or a slideshow? Are you better with slideshows, or?
Anything's got pictures. Because the pictures of where's the towels more these days.
All right. Well, let's go on to Scott with secondary roads.
75:30.
Hey, Scott, we're ready whenever you are. Thank you.
Oh, so I didn't, did you just find out about being a grandma?
I've known since Christmas,
Okay.
but they just let it out of the
Facebook.
bag. Yeah. First time grandparents on both sides
Oh, really?
of the family. So Matthew's mom and dad are very over the moon too. So
Where's he from?
Ames, They met at Iowa State. Yeah, this grandma thing is gonna be fun.
Where do they live now?
Denver, Colorado.
That's too far.
Easy to hop on a plane though. Plane tickets are cheap.
I hate flying, I'd rather drive.
It takes like 11 hours to get there.
Back when I lived in Colorado, it was a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and that was.
Oh, no, the drive was fun.
Nebraska was. miserable.
That's quite a, yeah.
55.
Yeah, that's boring.
A lot more fun at 75. That's what everybody did.
Yeah, just because it was less of it.
Yeah, they had all pink balloons and stuff, but that was because they announced it on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not
Not
necessarily
an
a girl.
indication.
Not that I know of anyway.
What was it, August 22nd, I think? It's the due date.
August 13th.
13th.
Yeah. Pretty fun, exciting, nerve-wracking. I don't know how you guys do it. It's like kind of scary too.
Well, and then ours were probably during COVID.
So yeah, that's right.
Having to deal with all that.
Yeah. Did your girls, did they have COVID during it or any of that kind of stuff? Good.
But she was extremely cautious.
I'm sure that Laura and Matt will be too, but.
Yeah, Jordan's got Leo doing somersaults and everything now.
That's cute.
Those
Not
are-
playing in the toilet anymore?
Not that we have pictures.
That's why I never put those chemical toilet bowl cleaners in the toilet, because sooner or later the kids were always splashing it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's it, when the water's blue.
Yeah.
We've given a card to Leo and some yogurt little snacks for Valentine's Day. Get a video back of him standing with his back to the camera, buck naked, and the card is playing, and he's just.
Oh, it was a musical
dancing.
card. It's cute.
I replied back, I wish I was that buff still.
There you go.
Those pictures we don't want. Oh, that's cute. And they learn so much that first
Yeah.
year. It's just like, how do they even absorb all that information?
Sad thing is, right now, my daughter's supposed to be just a fill-in down at the hospital, working a lot of hours now because they're short-staffed down there. She's filling in for everybody.
Where's that at?
Mercy.
Mercy.
So I've been helping pick up at the daycare. They actually carpool to Mason now, because he's working for Ag Ventures Alliance.
Oh,
How many employees did they lose? They wouldn't get vaccinated.
I don't know.
You never hear that.
That one gal that was in charge now was the one that lost the family in Algona during that murder suicide
Oh, there,
when he killed the kids.
yeah. You never could have figured out how you can do that. You couldn't, I had a hard time shooting straight up. Unless it was an attack.
what do you have there, Terry? Is that county claims or payroll or? I left my iced tea in the truck and it froze over me.
Oh, no, it's been cold in it. disappeared, huh?
It's in my office.
It's in your office now?
You hijacked it.
Sure.
Hello.
Hello.
Do I get to just come in?
Yeah.
We are,
I don't know, it's pretty brave.
we're free country here. We're just waiting for the engineer to show up and give us a report.
Good question. Should prove this or not.
Don't worry, he says that to everybody.
Does neatness count?
No, I couldn't say it, I might need to
Hello.
stop here than mine.
Are
Morning.
you waiting on me?
Yep.
Yes, yes, I'm going to hear your presentation.
The presentation today.
We alerted the media and they showed up.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have much to tell you today, other than I'm working on the 5-year program update. So I'll send you some stuff between now and next week on what our 5 years worth of construction and maintenance might look like. And we can talk about that and see if there's any changes you want to make or things to look into. And when the budget's approved, we'll approve the secondary road budget for the DOT's interest, as well as the county 5-year program, kind of all in one swoop with the entire county's budget, which will be, I don't know, March, or Carly, have any idea when that normally, sometime in March probably, right?
It's not today. That's
Yeah.
what I know.
Yep, so I want to get kind of ahead of that and make sure that we have consensus on 5-year program. So, last year, if you remember, we were talking about potential TIF and what that would do to the 5-year program. So we've kind of had a few iterations of what we plan to do, but this year should be pretty straightforward, adding a year onto the tail end and really no other major changes, a little bit of shuffling around just as we know more about our bridge inventory and what our last inspections told us, shuffled a few things. So I guess we can talk about, each bridge and, whether you think it fits the priority level I've given it, that kind of thing. So I'll send you some stuff between now and then, and we can kind of just talk about it freely next meeting. I can probably add an agenda for a discussion about that. I'll send you something.
How do you prioritize?
Bridges specifically. So in the inspection report that we get from Calvin Burns, our bridge inspection engineer, they will give us a list prioritized by kind of a formula that they've come up with, results in a category they call estimated remaining life, which is not something they really share with us how they come up with that. It's an estimate based on all of the inspection data that comes from the inspection. So mainly we stick to that. We add in things like whether it's level B or level A road and maybe give more priority to level A roads. If it's a paved road versus a gravel road, paved roads would get higher priority. Roads that get a lot of traffic, in the 80, 90, 100, that kind of thing on gravels would get higher priorities. If we have maybe landlocked areas that have multiple posted bridges around them, then we would maybe prioritize one of those to try and, keep access for loaded semis, that kind of thing. Most of it comes from the estimated remaining life. We're kind of just chasing the point where, we have bridges fall off and get either closed or posted with something so low that it's unusable.
So do you know specifically how the one that's by the Derby bin site got priority? I mean, do you know what the issue is?
I guess I should say too that the weight posting on it is usually a good indicator. for, anybody in the public to see how those signs change from year to year. I wouldn't know without looking specifically at the report what the issue is with that one, but that bridge is a timber bridge, just like, 90% of the bridges we have in the system. And almost always the failure point is the piling underneath, right at the water line. And I always wanted to think we could do some repairs to try and, lengthen the life of some of these bridges, and it just is not an economical way we've found to do that. Because to fix piling, you have to put in new piling or do some bracing, which is a stopgap measure at best. New piling can work, it's just, you have to take the entire bridge off to put new piling in. Unless, sometimes if it has a concrete deck, they can cut holes in them, put new piling through and seal it all back up. I know that Hancock County's done that on some of their concrete bridges, but with the timber bridge, I just don't think that's a good option for us.
You can screw that wood back into the hole.
We've seen like encasement of piling where they'll take like a corrugated metal pipe and make kind of a shell and fill it full of concrete or something like that, or take like C-channel and just smash it together on both sides, and it can be done. I don't know what kind of extra life it'll give us. It'll make it more difficult for inspectors to do ratings because you're kind of cobbling in a way, and
It's hiding the problem.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
evidently the cost of that is probably awful close to replacement.
Depends on the structure. When we got $40,000 or $50,000 replacements, the obvious thing is to replace it. When you get into $250,000, then you start to think, what else can we do?
So refresh my memory, do you remember offhand how much that replacement is gonna cost?
I think we
Just-
have,
People have been asking.
I think the structure that we're planning is hopefully under 100,000, and then all of the equipment and labor. I can't remember what the total is. That'll be in the information I send you.
Okay.
That's practically at the outlet of that district,
Yeah.
close to the river. It's gotta have some flow to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see. It's lumped together with some others in the budget, so I can't just pinpoint it from what I have on me, but I can give that to you.
Was that a single pipe structure then?
Yeah, that's the aluminum
Oh,
arch pipe structure. I can give you some more details on the other options we considered too, just to show you how we arrived at that.
Anything else for Scott? Ethan? Anything?
Not much, just the same stuff we've been doing all winter. On snow, going back to stockpiling again, and got those pipes ready for Linden Lane. That's done. Just waiting on weather, kind of.
You said we got 2,000 of the 5,000 ton at Sunnyside that we plan to stockpile, and that would wrap up our stockpiling, so we do quite well.
that's good, because fuel keeps going up.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I guess after we get done stockpiling, we'll have to figure out if we want to do some stockpiling for spot loads or kind of take it easy.
Do you book your fuel?
We haven't done that in several years. We contracted fuel once, I think. Mike had been interested in it and pushed us to do it. And I'm not a proponent for it, but
Sometimes it can work and sometimes it can backfire.
Yeah.
So then you lost your money.
That's the thing. Did quite a bit of research at the time, and it was good to learn about our fuel usage and everything like that. I think the year that we did contract fuel, we did fall behind. We were paying more than market price for a little while, and that's always kind of tough to see. I think we contracted some LP that year too. It can be good and bad. One year we paid $4 something for LP a couple times, and that's why you don't like to see that either.
For the most part, LP is a seasonal thing, where you can buy it in the summer and fall cheaper than you can buy it through the winter, but that's pretty constant. Now we're just out of sight.
Yeah, I Can't remember the last time LP dropped in price from summer to into the winter. It always goes up.
Once fall hits, it's always by Labor Day. If you haven't got it bought, you're
Yeah, once dryer gas starts,
Yeah.
usually goes up.
We get fuel from quite a few different places too, so that kind of adds a little challenge.
Yeah.
You know, we don't just have bulk tanks at the yards, we also get quite a bit from K&H Mobile, you know, their locations in Buffalo and Thompson, and then also Quick Star, we get a bunch from 5 Star. Yeah, Horsey Co-op.
Yeah, when you look at claims, you pretty well see it's spread around pretty good.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on where they're stockpiling.
Yeah. Where it's
Do it.
convenient to get it.
Yeah, we do have bulk tanks in Thompson Lake Mills and a mobile trailer, so we can do some things that way too.
The negotiations with the road workers was brought up by Mike Galloway about the on-call people.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to talk about that a little bit.
A little bit, without knowing the conversation,
They're indicating that the truckers, the truck drivers get the on-call pay, but the road grader guys don't. How does that work?
so we look back at the contract, the way that the language says, it's listed as pager pay. And it says, employees assigned to carry a pager on the weekend or holiday will be given this pay. And we don't carry pagers anymore, but when we did, it's been probably 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. The way that it worked is everybody's on call to plow snow all the time through the winter, unless you're on, you know, approved vacation or sick time off. The truck drivers, since, you know, they're almost always the first ones to come in, and much more likely to come in on the weekends, would be assigned to carry a pager. And so when the page went off, the truck drivers would come in and take care of hard surface roads. And if we needed to run gravels on the weekends, those guys would just call the blade guys to run their gravel routes, and kind of like a, you know, calling tree. They never had pagers, but they were still on call. So, you know, when the contract was approved that the guys assigned to carry a pager, we just paid the guys who were, you know, under the old system assigned to carry a pager. So that's how we've been handling it. And it seemed pretty clear that that was how it was intended. It's kind of, it's surprising to think that it was supposed to apply to more guys all along.
So everybody's on call on the weekends, you can't go anywhere on the weekends.
Yeah, you know, you can get approved vacations ahead of time, and then of course you can be gone. If it's sunny and you're going into the weekend, I think it's something you just work out with the guys and say like, hey, I got a thing that I want to go to, and forecast looks pretty good, and you kind of give them the nod or not.
Yeah. The gravel guys are a lot more flexible to be able to take off, because they don't have to worry about sticking to the roads and stuff like that. Because they kind of know the call before 9, 10 o'clock in the morning if we're going to run gravels.
Right, I mean, because you only run gravels on the weekend if you're looking for notable snow, not ice, not, you know, blowing and sticking snow, not, you know, all those little things that we call in hard surface roads for. You don't have to treat anything, so if you don't have 6 inches of snow, or, you know, 3, 4 inches of snow in the forecast, pretty safe to leave if you're on gravels. Yeah, so it is different, but they are, you know, technically still on call.
It sounds like we're changing it, so it's not called pager anymore, it's gonna be on call.
Okay.
I don't know, is that really we ended up with?
But now what we're hearing kind of from Scott and Ethan is maybe it was more correct the old way and not changing it.
I think you'd find mixed opinions among the group on
If you're on
that.
call, you're on call. just the fact that you don't, now, you did, used to have a pager, should the grandfather, if you're on call, you're on call.
Well, we've already changed it,
Yeah,
so,
I mean, they're on call because, say, we only work it out to, we have like 2 guys going at a time. They can go like to Florida, go wherever. I mean, the rest of them, they'll call and say, hey, it's all right if we run to Mason City, I'll go on a whatever. But like say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're getting dumped on with snow and I need to call the maintainers in. They're still on call. They can't take off.
are you on call all weekend, even when the forecast has got 0% moisture? You know?
Sometimes it's the wind.
Well, yeah, sometimes it could just drift, but you also get forecasts on wind too, it's pretty, they're relatively accurate.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be paying people to be on call when the weather's perfect also down there.
That's kind of the trick is, you know, it doesn't say what time of year it starts and stops either, so we've kind of administratively tried to decide. When historically did they order the pagers and give them to the guys? And that varied from year to year. You know, so if you get to middle of March and you see the forecast is good for the next, you know, 2 weeks or whatever, then that might be the end of it. But, you know, we plowed snow in May before, so.
May second blizzard,
I remember one that
10 inches.
May 10th.
first year I lived in Forest City, it snowed in June, so,
I think we were gonna
I think
start,
it was only your place.
we were gonna start December 1st this year, and then we got a little bit of, we had to call them out over the weekend in November once or something, so we just started then instead. You know, it's just,
It's hard because, yeah, you can start plowing snow in October and then go a month without
Yeah.
doing anything.
so it's been tricky, kind of problematic to try and
Must be an
enforce.
Yeah.
the other thing is, you had talked about starting it right away. Well, the contract doesn't start right away, the contract starts July 1st. So we can't start it right away.
Well, I think the controversy on that was Mike said, well, the way it's written right now, they're not applying it properly. That's why we
Well,
said.
that's the way I read it. And so therefore, it wasn't really the contract, what really is just the discretion of you and what you've always assumed. And so, I mean, that can be changed anytime if the wording, well, I mean, it looked plain to me that if you're on call, you're on call. You didn't really, it did say pager call in there, but we changed the wording to be on call.
So there may be a definition of what on call means.
It would be at your discretion, I guess.
Yeah. It'd be a tricky thing to define.
The other thing I'd like to bring up when we're talking about negotiations is the Martin Luther holiday versus the President's Day holiday. In the contract, it talks about the President's Day holiday being switched with the day around the 4th of July. Well, now that we have the Martin Luther King holiday, I think that needs to be the holiday that's by the 4th of July and not the President's Day holiday. Doesn't that make sense?
We decided we don't care.
Okay.
I guess that's probably not phrased the best. I don't know if it makes a difference for us
For
to
your
take a
department?
position on that.
Okay, so then it's up to you guys.
Any rationalization that made it that way?
There's a couple trade-offs from switching the holidays that I see. One is, if you take President's Day in the winter, we work 8-hour days, you get 8 hours of vacation. And if you take it in the summer, it's 10-hour days, so we get 10 hours of vacation, so it benefits the employee. On the other hand, if, let's say you work the majority of President's Day, instead of holiday plus time and a half, Now they just get regular pay. And the holiday pay later. So they kind of give up an opportunity to make overtime pay or comp time by trading the day. So that benefits the employer. But we don't always work that day. So there's a little bit of a gamble. If you're trying to say, I want to get my overtime in the winter and leave the holiday.
What do you mean by we don't always work that way?
Well, President's Day, well, I mean, we always do now,
Well, work,
but
We're
we
not always
wouldn't
promised.
always, yeah, we wouldn't always have to, is what I should say. Because if you got a nice day outside and it was a holiday, you wouldn't call them in. But if you work at the regular, of course, everybody comes in anyway, even if you're not plowing snow. So I think it's probably about a wash to the employer and the employee. It's something they thought was a good idea at one time, and I think most of the guys kind of like it.
So this is exchanged in the summer as an extra day over a holiday? Or
Yeah, so they work a regular day on President's Day, and they take basically 2 holidays on the 4th of July. The one that everybody else gets, and then the extra one that we just tack onto the weekend, however works
when
best.
our work schedule isn't so demanding?
At least it isn't snowplow demanding. We got-
Yeah, it's demanding, because what if that's a perfectly dry day to put in a bridge
Yeah, I mean,
or whatever?
we
A
don't,
perfect day to blade a road that got rained on.
That's right.
yeah,
Need to
you can
snow.
about expect us to be skeleton crew the entire 4th of July week, whatever is the shorter week. Have a couple guys, about all, I mean, because everybody knows that's gonna be a slow week. We're not gonna plan a bridge project or anything major, just because we know we're gonna be short. But yeah, there could be great weather to do work, and we'd be pretty quiet. So I think that we'll leave that up to you and the workmen's on what you want to do with that.
We would still only allow one of those holidays.
Yeah, I just thought since Martin Luther is in January and President's Day is in February, more likely
Push those together.
you're more likely.
switch them,
Oh, to switch them.
switch
Oh.
them.
So
Since we'd be more likely to plow snow in January than February.
Well, I don't care. I mean, it's up to you guys. It's,
13 years, it hasn't even snowed until first of February.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
well,
this year we
that's-
did plow snow on OK Day.
Yeah.
When they had it off, so.
I guess it.
February is hard though too. February is a snowy month. It's where that
Yeah.
temperature swings and you get snow. That's a gamble.
I guess I could go either way.
I could do it, just, I don't have it. I don't think it matters.
One year it could be good, next year. it could
Yeah, I
be-
was just gonna say, you just gotta ask yourself, are you feeling lucky, punk?
Bill, there's a picture on the calendar over there, if that would help.
Oh, is there a
Make this
picture?
decision.
Oh, look at the snow on the little bridge.
Look at the calendar.
Yeah, all right. That's a joke from earlier. You had to be here.
I don't care. We can leave it alone. I don't. Just makes more work for me. So whatever.
Well, which way makes the least
Yeah,
work for
then
you?
do the,
Just leaving it alone.
All right.
Oh, then
there
leave
you
it
go.
alone.
Okay, we've already decided it then.
Okay.
because those guys don't care and we don't care either. And it can snow when it wants to snow.
I don't think it's gonna make much difference.
Nope.
No.
Did you need anything from us on the on-call stuff, or I haven't seen what you guys have worked on or anything.
I don't think the language changed too much. It was just the way Mike looked at the wording
Okay.
and how it was being implemented. It's all.
Okay. I guess if he wants us to change something, immediately or something, I'd want to talk to him.
In my opinion, I don't think you should change anything until July 1st without action from the board.
Well, I don't
Really,
think we're changing that language.
we didn't really change the language that's in the current contract. All we did for the new contract was drop out pager pay, and put on-call pay. But the way I read that part there is that if you're on call, you're on call. I mean,
So just that in itself would open up probably more possibilities for on-call pay if they were asking for it.
Because of the cell phone language.
Getting rid of the pager like
Mm.
calling it on-call, so you may have to look at that and see how that's gonna change things.
So, yeah, employee assigned to carry a pager, that was changed to cell phone, shall be paid an additional $10 per weekend day and $20 per holiday. So
That's for the new contract.
all it says is it is called on-call pay, and instead of pager, the word cell phone is in there. And then my notes from that was to inform Scott and Ethan to manage it.
Okay.
The odds of the trucks going out is much higher than the guy with the maintainer. Just the gravel roads, we should wait till Monday on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious if you want us to try and differentiate, like if the forecast shows no notable snow forecast, if we just let the blade guys kind of go and call that not on call.
I'd like
Need
to
do
know,
that.
I'd like to know what it cost us last year for on-call pay.
Yeah, I have,
Is it every week through a certain amount of period then? And you have what, two guys, or you
We'd
have
have-
all the truck drivers?
you'd have all 7 truck drivers each week and day and holiday from,
Middle of November to middle of March.
yeah, something like that. And I penciled that out and I have that downstairs. I don't have it with me, but
4 months.
But I think that would be interesting to know what it's
sure.
costing us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how far you need to micromanage it.
Yeah, unfortunately, and this isn't the guy's fault, and they shouldn't need to care about this, but unfortunately, it's kind of a nightmare to try and get this into our new payroll system, and it's kind of tedious. Again, that's not their problem, and they don't need to care about that, but on our end, it's kind of frustrating that, this small amount of money kind of creates such a tedious headache for us.
Well, you were mentioning that you were looking possibly at doing away with the stipend for on-call, and just everybody gets a certain amount.
That'd make it a lot easier for Becky.
For sure, yeah, if we could pay it out once a year or something.
See, so then if we had a history and knew what that was,
Yeah,
we could possibly come up with a,
Just a one paycheck.
yeah, stipend type thing.
And then you just have to define it in job responsibilities, you're required to be on call as a truck driver to this extent. You're required as a road grader operator to be on call to this extent.
yeah, that's,
It's kind of one of those things that's sort of a non-issue that's an issue.
you're right, I mean, it's the conversation Ethan has with each one of them, if they're running whatever routes, say how far you can go from home based on the weather forecast, and we can't probably define that perfectly, but, you make that decision when you're comfortable on timing and distance, whatever they're doing, and
Yeah, like this last weekend or weekend before, one of the truck driver guys called and he's like, "Sorry if I run to Mason City quick. I'll be back in 2 hours." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not supposed to hit till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock." So that was one of those occasions where that kind of happens all over the place, where if they want to go somewhere, they're going to call and ask. But
Yeah.
they're not just taking off going and all of a sudden calling and go, "I'm in Elberly or Minneapolis."
But it kind of felt like maybe there had been some dissension a little bit between the groups of who was getting paid and who wasn't getting, I mean.
well, I mean, it sets a pretty clear distinction between the truck drivers and the grader operators, and, they can say they're on call a lot of the ways, same way, and not getting paid for it,
But their odds of going out are much less.
or less, yeah, so it's different, but it's still on call.
Yeah.
So I can understand both sides of it, definitely.
I know, there's,
That's why my note says, inform Scott and Ethan.
Well,
I just don't wanna, take something that you guys came up with together as between them and you guys, and for me to pick it apart and not enforce it the correct way.
Well, as of that conversation, we left it the same except for changing the cell phone
Yeah.
thing, so that's how it'll
And
come
the
back to you to look
daycares
at.
Also requires a little more, it's a little more difficult of a job because you gravel underneath instead of just skidding across the pavement. So it's almost a little more of a technical job a little bit.
Yeah, it
They
can be a
don't
little
do
more
any sanding or salting,
No, they don't have to do all that.
they don't run they have a belly scraper, like a grader.
Yeah, but they don't have to worry about it digging gravel. You gotta get the feel for it. I would think that immediately more than to do on pavement anyways.
Mhm. They definitely have their different challenges at different times.
Yeah, it would,
I mean, when the truck drivers have to deal with ice on the pavements, it's definitely a lot slicker on hard surface road than it is on gravel. You get a little more grit at times, and then
yeah,
get heavy ice here, but about grit.
normally you can get more traction. It's just like when you're on a pavement, sometimes I was going down the road and had an empty sugar trailer on and in the wind, I don't know what it made us leave, but it was icy. And you got about 20 mile an hour in the wind would start blowing your trailer, then you hit the shoulder, and then you'd straighten out again, and then you get yourself back on the pavement, and they just blow you right off the road. But once you got to the gravel, then you get some bites. So, yeah.
Well, those are our challenges.
Okay. The other part of them all getting it, it kind of makes it equal, and so it feels like a good alternative might be just to make that small adjustment in equal dollar amount to their wages. Maybe outside of my control, and
Well, and then was that built into the negotiations?
Well, we'll have to do it in 3 years.
is making one time a year payment an option, you think? Just keep track or do some sort of
Maybe
average.
have to see if it was okay with them. I mean,
Maybe if we made it front.
It would be
wouldn't make a
interesting
problem.
if you could prove the averages,
Yeah.
what it's
You
been
can see the
historically.
percentage of time that the trucks went out, the percentage of time that the maintainers went out.
Well, I mean, I think we'd still probably just
But yours-
do the math of whatever the start date is to the end date and pay them all those weekends and holidays for 7 guys, or now for 19 guys. And just figure out what that amount is and maybe just write them a check on December 1st for that amount. I don't,
Well, you got 3 years to figure out a process.
okay, well, I mean, that sounds way easier than what we've been doing, writing it in every pay period.
Yeah, and if
Well,
that's
as
taking
long as it's the
time
same
and,
amount of money, they won't feel it, they get it.
Yeah, I guess the only trick is that
Yeah.
if we use averages or actuals, some of them that if they go to Mexico, or they're not gonna get pager pay for March 15th or whatever the date is. Do you need to be that specific, or can you just give to all of them for all the dates?
no, you have, I mean, if somebody doesn't work a weekend, you can't just give it to them for,
Yeah.
So that creates another quagmire.
well, and some people travel a lot, and some people go, and others don't, and stay home, and so it's gonna be a,
Probably not a lot of vacation done during the winter, is there?
There's-
It almost,
depends on the person.
Ethan's
Yeah.
going.
I can show you the calendar.
Well, we try to encourage as much as we can without making it a shortfall for us, because otherwise you're ghost town in the summer and you don't have enough guys around to get work done. A lot of the guys get 4 weeks of vacation plus earn a couple weeks of comp time in the winter. Well, 6 weeks is a lot of time to take some time. So you gotta fit some in the winter in order to not be disappearing in the summer.
Yeah, as long as they're not all even at once, I guess.
Right, that's the main thing. It's a juggling act. Okay.
That was
Scratch
fun,
our heads
huh?
on that a little bit, I
That was
guess.
fun. All right. I think we're done. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Have a good day.
you do.
Should we go to number 6?
Okay. Since they need your
Yeah.
vested interest.
Maybe I'm here to hear about drainage matters.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
7511.
Be careful what you ask for.
She's been talking to Dave Peterson. He loves
Yeah,
it.
the sheriff used to just bail from the room when we got on the drain.
Discuss EMS services.
So I wanted this on the agenda because we need to discuss what information we want to put on the program tomorrow night for a PowerPoint, and what points we're going to try and make. And, we've got a notebook full of meeting information here, but, how are we going to present it? Who's going to present it? And Norma's already put it out on the news release that I would be leading it, but it's up to the supervisors to probably lead it. And Andy would probably weigh in, and what we were hoping for was some testimonials from some of the EMS services, but now, is it the Four City ones that aren't available, or? But they have a meeting at 7, but we start at 6 across the street.
Well, I think their meeting starts at 6, doesn't it? It's a 3-hour training.
Oh, it's a training?
Yep. Yeah, but I think that Spencer is gonna come
Okay.
and speak
So
for a little
one
bit.
of them would be there.
That's kind of like I'd like to hear, is there something he needs to cover? We're trying to figure this out. I feel like we're very unprepared. And I apologize, Norma attacked you about what to put out
Oh, she
there,
didn't
but
attack
I
me, she
didn't
just wanted to
realize
know.
I was
and
supposed to be
so
doing all this.
I just
so-
gave her the information I knew,
Okay,
and I told her that this is what we're trying to do, and,
appreciate it. She got very little guidance from me.
yeah, well, and then I appreciated her taking the effort to help with it.
So our meeting is at 6 o'clock. You're saying that the meeting at,
I think they're
Is
at
6
training
as well?
6 to 9. Yeah.
so that's actual training, not just a meeting of
Yeah,
some
that's
sort.
what I was
Okay.
told.
It's
Yeah.
funny that those same people were at the meeting in Lake Mills and said it was fine.
Spencer was the only one
Oh,
that was there at it, and they hadn't set this time, is what he said, and then, but,
So is it going to be a roundtable kind of a discussion, or is it going to be throw some questions out and get some answers?
I guess my thought is if we put some things up on the screen so they can visually look at what some of the issues are, and they're not gonna be probably a lot, there might be a few statistics that have been thrown out here we could put up there. You probably wanna validate them, but, I need to look at Jennifer's calls. Through the dispatch, she had come up with information. I think that should be part of it. I think we need to lead some of that into, some of the testimonials from the different EMS services, some of the struggles they're having. And then maybe get into the discussion we had with Wright County and how they did things, That meeting kind of turned my thought process around a little bit from where I was originally thinking. I didn't know. I'm not an expert at this, and I'd rather lean towards something that's been maybe proven a little more successful than not.
It's the first time we mentioned.
No, I fail a lot.
Oh,
I learn a lot too, that
and it's at the bank, so.
Yeah. basement of the NSB. So I suppose, will you be getting the key from them, or who should get the key?
I don't know that. I can text Andy. He's the one who reserved the room, so I would assume that he would do it.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we get in there ahead of time to set up, and
Is it posted? Have we posted?
we'll have to have that posted here.
So I think it would be nice to have an agenda so we could stay on track anyway and not go down some rabbit hole somewhere, because
I think the rabbit holes will appear.
I'm sure they will too, but if we have some type of bullet points that we can at least know we need to hit.
Some of the rabbit hole will be in the next part of the agenda down there when we get to the ARPA funds. They'll be
Yes.
off in every direction there. I'm sure there'll be people there just for that part of it. Because we wanted to have input on our ARPA funding, where we should focus our efforts. Figured, well, as long as we got a group of people together, we might as well utilize them rather than having another meeting. That's the one thing about, originally we thought we were gonna put some capital outlay into something with the ARPA funds, but I'm not sure, unless we were going to fund equipment for the services through the ARPA fund, that it'd be up to an advisory council to make that determination. That needs to be done. It's the only way we can help some of the services with funding outside of the levy. It doesn't help with the volunteers,
No.
staffing.
And you can't find employment with wages.
Actually, wages, I know bonuses are acceptable. Somebody else had sent me a thing on that wages have been deemed acceptable, but I'm not sure where I gotta look
Well,
at it.
they did kind of really loosen it up here this last time.
They made it gray for an intended
But
purpose.
bonuses are something like our external auditor highly frowns against. Like,
It's something we haven't even discussed as a committee to
and
do.
I hope we don't.
Yeah, that's,
I have
our
no
original
intention of doing that.
ARPA committee hasn't even discussed bonuses.
And
We're looking
we
at
should not.
infrastructure type stuff.
Yes.
But the other thing is, if you do that, that's just a one-time deal. You gotta fund it going down the road too.
Yeah, it can't, it's not sustainable.
The only thing I can see it helping with is to fill that gap before the levy gets in place. If we're able to utilize some of that money to help some of the services with ARPA monies towards some equipment. But there again, well, I guess that'd be something we'd have control over versus the advisory council, but I sure want the advisory council to.
Equipment's a little more of a one-time expense like this money is. Anything else is something that can reoccur every year. We're not going to have this money.
But we have to mix that in with our priorities otherwise on the ARPA funds.
So can we meet after our meeting today to just pull together some bullet points of talking points that we would like to have for this
Do you
meeting?
have any input on what you think should be on that PowerPoint?
Well, I think there's gonna be questions about that levy's already out there.
Yeah.
So
We're
how
ready
you're
to
going
address
to
that. We have the
address that.
information available, and we could probably, I've done this before with the jail vote, where we can, if somebody has a specific question on their property, what would 67 cents do for taxes on their house property after homesteading and everything? We could probably give them an estimate.
Have you deemed it essential? Is this set in motion
We
yet?
wanted to do it after this meeting.
Okay, so I think telling people that process too would
Right,
be.
no, that's part
would
of,
be
part of the
good. Okay.
slideshow. These are our steps to go forward. I think,
Yep.
steps was my first Well, no,
And then the
probably the
levy.
first thing is the problem.
Yes,
And then the levy, it's not something we're just gonna decide is gonna happen, it also gets voted on.
exactly, exactly. And people understanding that.
You know, they are.
Nothing's getting decided at this meeting. I had a long conversation with one of the paramedics over the weekend, and he thought we had everything figured out, where it's gonna be placed, what money's gonna be set aside. It's like, I hadn't even heard you deemed it essential service to start the study to get to that point. So it's like, am I missing points? That's why I'm here.
Well,
Is there things going on that I've missed because I only go to the one meeting a month?
Then we found out at that one meeting that if we deem it an essential service, and then the next step is to appoint that advisory, and then they come up with the needs assessment and what it would take for a levy, then we would have a vote, and if the vote fails, then that resolution for essential service goes away.
And that first vote is you guys.
No,
Or you're talking the one
there's
out to the public.
we have our vote for the essential services,
Yes.
but then it has to go to the public vote.
Has to
Okay.
actually
And
go
it has
on
to
the
be
ballot.
60%.
Yes. I thought you guys had to approve something coming out of that committee prior
Yeah,
to it going to
That would be
the
their
vote.
recommendation.
Yes, okay.
That would be what's on the ballot.
Yeah.
But if that vote fails,
Right.
then the essential service resolution's null and void.
My comment with Joe was, I hope tomorrow night is not all about the money, because people, I feel, do not understand the seriousness of the situation.
Well,
That's what it has to be about.
That's why I wanted the testimonies of some of the services out there, and I'm hoping all the others can be there.
And, you know, I'm always gonna reiterate, we don't have it all figured out. Maybe you guys got a lot more figured out than I do, because I don't think we do.
Our situation, I think, is similar to Wright County, but there's a lot of differences. We don't have two hospitals,
Right,
so it affects us different. And we gotta talk about the transfers, those non-emergency transfers. I don't know, what's the term they use on that?
Oh, yeah,
It's almost like they could take a cab instead.
yeah.
I should
They had a
get that.
terminology for it, but I can't remember what it
I'll have
was
to look
either.
at my notes. I got it.
You know, a lot of people just don't realize, my wife is on the ambulance, and she's on call up until midnight usually. And then she gets a call right before midnight, it takes 3 hours, she gets home at 3 in the morning, gets to sleep for an hour, and then gets up and goes to work. There's a lot of people who just don't realize what all's going on. And it's
Yeah. I feel like we
It's quite
could
a
have less than
sacrifice.
10 bullet points, identify the problem, the seriousness of it, have 3 or 4 testimonials, identify the problem, then how would we deem it essential if we can't fix the problem? And then appoint an advisory committee, take what they say to us and decide if it goes up for a vote. I mean, I don't think we have to make it as hard as
If we just, break it down into the steps that are required and what that importance of that vote is about, how it affects them, and
yeah. And if we have someone who's willing to stand up and do a testimonial that, my husband had a heart attack. I mean, I can do it. My husband had a heart attack. The 911 was called, and they were there within 7 minutes. That's probably not going to happen anymore. Unfortunately, there was not a good outcome, but they were there. So, I just think people need to know it might be 40 minutes otherwise.
my father, had an incident in Thompson, and Forest City responded to that one.
Yeah,
And it was within, I think, 20 minutes or so, but it wasn't as emergent as yours was, but it definitely needed to happen.
yeah.
The eventual outcome wasn't good, but it was an
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great if you guys had like if you were gonna stand up and give your testimonials, but do you know people that we could also invite in that would do that? I mean, to make sure we have some people,
In talking
Yeah,
to
it
the
would be
public,
better if it
everybody
wasn't.
Seems like everybody has a story,
okay.
but whether they wanna stand up and talk about it, it's another thing.
Yeah.
I had one with my mom too, years ago.
It was the one by Thompson, they had to wait for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We need to explain, those are the situations that they need to hear about, that what's that? Because one of the deputies was there doing CPR for quite a while before they had, I mean, I think the ambulance, because all the ambulances were out or something like that. And it took many minutes for the, I can't remember, it seems like I remember hearing 40 minutes.
I've heard 40 minutes from people before, but I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
again if it's anybody who stand up and do a testimonial, but,
And I have property that they use for a landing zone for the medevac. Fire department lined up for it on Sunday and had it called off.
just, is there guidelines on who's on that committee that you guys appoint?
We would
Like
probably look at other counties that have it and see what type of people are on it. We asked the guy from Wright County a little bit to get his thoughts.
Right,
Somebody asked me this morning at breakfast, she said, so what makes the right person on that council? I said, well, I guess I'm looking for somebody, it probably should have at least one person from the county supervisors since the funding goes through us. So one person from them, just to be the liaison between the supervisors and the committee and understand the budgets and then you're gonna have to have one administrator in charge. You're gonna have to have probably at least one representative of every community. Probably, you don't wanna load it up with EMS, professionals or anything. You wanna, but you still wanna have, people on there that have knowledge of it. Maybe it's people that are retired from EMS that understood.
is this the
Yes.
committee, the study committee, or the council
Well, I think we're
after
gonna have to do it
it's
in
in
two
place?
steps. I think
Okay.
it's gonna be probably that study committee, then going forward, you could have a larger advisory study committee or whatever you call it, and then pare it down, maybe pick the best of the best from that committee
If
and
it
maybe
gets
a couple other
approved,
changes.
yes, I think there's some confusion about that as well.
We don't
It's like,
want this
they're
to
two
be a
different
permanent
things.
thing. Because like he said, they had people that, yeah, they made it to one meeting and then never showed up again, You don't want those people, maybe their input the first time was okay, but you want people that are, gonna be involved. We don't want politics involved.
I mean, the only thing unique about Wright County is they were doing it before the current state code went into effect.
But it was pretty much the same
Yeah,
process.
it's very similar.
They just had a different, they only had to have 50%. Now it's
Okay.
60%.
But I didn't know if the guidelines of who had to be on those committees during the study part and then the commission after it's established, if that's now set by code, I've gotta be honest, I've not, you guys brought that code in and I lost interest in reading
I
it
read
real
through it.
fast.
I have it in here. I read through it. I think it's up to the supervisors to
Okay.
appoint. So we just want it to be fair, to represent the county.
Well, and in their county, it seemed so obvious to me that the gentleman that was speaking to us, what's his name again, Johnson.
I can't remember.
Anyway, he was so passionate about it, and he already worked in the hospital
He was
setting.
retired, or he was
He
retiring.
retired, and he just had the time, the intelligence, the passion, and so we need one of them. We need 6 of them, So to find that,
Brian Jensen.
Brian Jensen, yep. Because I even asked him, is the reason that it's working because of you? Because he seemed like somebody who was handling a lot of it, And he didn't really seem to think that it was just because of him, but it might have been modest. I don't know.
Are any of you familiar with what's happening in Hancock County's situation? Because that gets brought up too, and that's a whole different situation.
And we have this overlap of service. That's a
It's
situation in
unique to us,
itself.
yes.
And the Lake Mel service is gonna be another one that overlaps into Worth County, and certain townships pay their service for,
Whole center goes into
yeah.
Cassuth, so all of our services are right on the border.
Are they getting funds from Cassuth then, or? So that's one thing we've talked about, you know, if 3/4 of Worth County is going through Mason City Fire, and there's 2 townships over by Lake Mills that count on Lake Mills, there should be funding from their levy that goes towards Lake Mills. And same here, you know, if they get their levy money through their hospital, so it's a little different animal there. There should be some of that funding going towards Forest City, but I don't know, does it?
I think they get
Okay,
some from
it
the
does.
paramedics for sure.
And it's based on
It
a
funnels.
percentage of land, isn't it? That is-
I don't know where it comes from, but I know there is some money that's backfilled in to help pay for the paramedics. They keep a portion for equipment, and they give us a portion to pay for the staffing. I'd hate to see the whole meeting consumed with these things that we don't know these answers. We're identifying them. I feel that's what this committee that you will appoint will hopefully delve into each one of these things, but I think everybody's gonna have tons of questions, and we don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I was hoping maybe I'd get here. You guys do have all the answers, and I just don't understand, but I don't think we do have the answers, so.
Well, it's a moving target that there are many answers that apply here but don't apply there.
And especially from service to service, I mean, that's, people are hearing this Thompson thing. Well, that's an option, I mean, where are you hearing that that's,
Just an option that's
where
been
are you hearing
considered.
that's gonna happen? I mean,
The only push I can see there is if it would benefit the entire system, and we can utilize the ARPA funds to help that process, but then you gotta fund it going forward. So are we
And
better off
staffing.
just putting the money towards the 3
exactly.
instead?
Because I didn't realize you were talking about your ARPA funding afterwards, but I mean, everything I hear about the 3 services, they're really their equipment is pretty good. And you all probably know even better than me, but could they use more stuff? Yeah, but they have good trucks, they got good equipment, they try to have the equipment so that they're cross-trained, because we do go
It isn't
between each
so
other all the
much
time.
The equipment as it is the people to operate.
Yes. But the ARPA funds, again, is only the one-time boost of money if you were gonna,
If we did decide to put something in Thompson, we would use ARPA to just establish
Infrastructure.
the building
Yes.
and the vehicle, the extra vehicle or whatever.
There's already a building available, we might have to add on to it or something, but
Yeah.
it's still gotta maintain things going forward. It costs money.
and those are the things I feel like I learned by sitting through and listening to what you might have thoughts of, but that's only one plan. That may not be the way the committee even says is most feasible, but it could be, it's an option. Again, I hope it's not all about the money tomorrow night.
A committee has to be appointed as quickly as possible if that's going to happen. Or,
But
you know.
not until you guys declare it an essential service, and you're getting close though,
Well,
right?
tomorrow night,
Do this, and
I
then,
think we kinda planned on having our first, public hearing after that,
okay.
if, you know.
And hopefully,
Still do
is it being advertised well? Who's,
It's on all of our social media stuff, so we've
Okay.
got the press release out and every place that we would
The
normally.
radio's been covering it.
Yep, we got them out there too. If there are more places you guys wanna go, I mean, please pick up what we've got.
I've been doing
Do your own.
Mostly doing word of mouth to everybody.
yeah, me too. I've been talking about it, but
And knowing, I mean, I feel like this is the first of many. I took away in Lake Mills that each month, let's do a public hearing in each one, and we just grow off of what we're learning each time for each different
Because this was the month we were
community.
supposed to be in the 4 cities, we're just doing it in 4 cities, so the next time would probably be Buffalo Center or Thompson or something.
So there's nothing that it's all centered around Forest City again. We're not we're only one piece of this puzzle, and, you know, if you guys have recommendations of things that you think people want to hear from me, I can have what we budget currently and stuff, but
That'd be beneficial.
so much
Not
is,
so much to put on the screen, but just to have the reference.
you know, if I was a Forest City citizen coming here and new taxation, the first thing I'm gonna think of is, okay, so I don't have to pay it on the city levy anymore, now it's all gonna be county, and I think I expressed at Lake Mills, I don't think that's the case. I see Forest City, we're the only city that currently levies for any of the service. I've heard Lake Mills and Buffalo Center do not contribute to theirs through a general levy like we do. So do I see that going away? I don't think so, but is it gonna adjust some?
Participant announcements on.
Hopefully there's the committee has some guidance and somebody from the city, me or somebody from the city, has some input into what citizens might be expecting. You know, like currently our levy is for $275,000. Maybe that drops down to hopefully 175 because now we're paying a county levy too. I mean, City of Forest City residents, property owners are always gonna pay more as long as we have a levy on our books and they're getting the county levy.
But do you feel like if you were on the study/advisory committee and you said that, or, you know, said, yes, there's gonna be considerations there, it's gonna be looked into, you know, people would feel confident that at least it was going to be studied and there was a committee going to be in place that would advise on that? I mean,
The whole concept of the taxation of
Yes.
it? Yeah, whether
Yeah.
it came from me or it'd probably have to be somebody on the council that was brought up to speed if I wasn't the representative. But I think that people would believe what we're saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously, I have no vote on the council, and if it's a council rep that's representing the city, then they only have one vote, but when these subjects are talked about in our committees, you can tell that there is like with you guys, there's a passion and a direction that we don't want to be without. What do we need to do to make this happen? I mean,
I
again,
envision this, we would probably allow each of the cities in the county to probably appoint one representative to the initial council and see how it goes. Whether the mayor does it himself or herself, or if they appoint somebody that's key in the situation to represent them. You know, that'd probably be a start. But I think the first committee needs to be broader than just within that scope.
but if I'm answering that correctly, I don't think whether it comes out of my mouth or Barney's or Dan Davis is our safety, he'd probably be the one, I think it'd be
Sure.
probably one of us.
It's just
three
that we just don't
represent
need to go down that numbers of levies and we just need to go, there's gonna be someone competent looking at it, making the best suggestions to us. Right?
Well, it's like you're talking, is one levy gonna go down when the other one goes up? Is the advisory council gonna look at all of that or just the one part of it, you know?
Well, and what control do they have over it? None.
Yeah,
But,
it's up to the city.
you know, again, Forest City's the only one contributing right now. Could it be a recommendation, maybe Lake Mills and Buffalo Center, every
Lake-
city
Lake Mills
throws
is-
something into it?
I think Lake Mills has had some turnover to where there might be some interest, you know, but they were waiting to see what we're doing. You know, so. you know,
I think the general guidance and direction from you guys is just gonna be a blessing for all of us communities out here, and Forest City will probably handle it different than everybody else, just because we have that paid paramedic situation right now, but getting the rest of them on some kind of a, I don't know, where they're seeing the full picture, that it's, again, just not about the money. Do we want the service in our town? What's our little part that we need to do? And if it's in-kind things, because I hear like up Buffalo Center, they supply the building and some things and stuff. I mean,
Which is levied back to the cost of that is levied back to the people in town.
and if Thompson became a hub too, would they, but then some of the other little towns, do they need to do something? Do they have the ability to do anything? They might not, I
Their
don't know.
budgets are so small,
Yeah.
and their valuations are so small, that it's not gonna make a big difference on a larger scale.
I worry about negativity of farmers. You've made the comment you were gonna try and hit Farm Bureau, that what a small.
Until we have more information, it's kinda hard to do that.
Exactly.
But I did encourage them to be at the meeting. I saw Scott Anderson, he was at the legislative forum in Thompson. I would guess he's gonna be at this one. Do we know the number on the current levy for the next year? What number we use if we were going to levy? I mean, what's our valuation that we're levying from?
Yeah, so like, if we levy 75 cents, it's like 485,000,
What's the valuation number, do you know?
not off the top of my head.
I'd like to have that.
Valuation of the county.
That we're, see, there's different numbers in that valuation. Some don't count towards this probably, I don't know. Do the turbine valuations reflect in this too? Or are they outside of this?
It seems like the total valuations are 650,000 or 659.
I think if, for reference, when people are gonna be asking what this is gonna cost them, because that's what people are gonna wanna know.
Yeah.
And, if we really did have somebody who owns
$200,000 house.
a $200,000 house, if somebody owns 100 acres of farmland at 78 CSR, what's that gonna cost them?
That's the difficult part. We have to know what the CSR is on that land.
But we
Every
can,
farm is different.
Yeah.
but you can go anywhere, well, Winnebago has good land, so it's probably anywhere from 68 to 88. We don't have to have every CSR, we just had to have it somewhere in
I
there.
always look at that farm right outside of Thompson on the north side and to the west. It's only got a CSR of 64, even though it's a show farm.
Mhm. So it makes,
And if you guys can have the county part of it available, I could in part do something with, $200,000 house. It's got, taxable value. It's about half of that,
and a
Have
business
some-
on Main Street, what
Yes.
that's gonna be, and what
yes.
Winnebago. Or
Sounds
what,
like you guys got a formula to throw something in there, and I don't have that available to me, but if you showed me your formula, I might be able to adjust it.
Oh, we
But,
just take the taxable valuation of your property after homesteading or after rollback of commercial taxes and multiply it times the cents per thousand.
whether it's gonna be 65 cents or what's the max it can be?
75.
75.
And Wright County's was 67. But this last year, were only at 63 because they had such an evaluation increase. They're only levying a certain amount.
Because you know exactly what everybody's gonna do. They're gonna do just exactly what I'm doing. They're gonna pull their phone out and they're gonna pull their calculator out and
And it's great.
figure out what it's gonna cost them. And I
They
think that's the
calculate it
best way to
correctly.
do it, because I think most people are gonna realize that's only gonna cost me $120.
It may not seem fair, but the more you have, the more you're gonna pay. That's just the way it works.
Do you think Winnebago will have a representative there? Because I have not begun to talk with them. I mean, they're a whole nother,
They have
Animal.
they have the facility up at Lake Mills. They have a small portion of this in Winnebago County. They get served by the ambulance and paramedics here, but sounds like they kind of take things up to the clinic when they need to, or for the most part, don't they, by themselves?
I don't know.
That's the way I understood it, that they have their own service during the day or whatever, that if there's an incident and they can go to the clinic, they just take them up there. If it has to go farther, they let the ambulance in. So
But
they
do
count
they-
on it, but not necessarily directly sometimes.
Do they take them to the ambulance then?
I am guessing they do,
Hmm.
because they gotta have theirs available.
For the next
All the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure if it's a very intense issue out there, they call them right in, you know.
Well, I'll have some figures like that available. If,
Okay.
off the top of your head, would you pick a business? Somebody that you think might have an interest on the main drag or around here, and that's the one I'll use. Who's an average everyday Joe? Give me one.
Steve,
Steve,
the lawyer.
oh, Backy, okay. His building, okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll grab his,
or cabin coffee or
Okay.
whatever, you know.
okay.
Really, you just need
Or
to
NSB Bank.
Yeah, that might be really interesting.
just pick something, I mean, you don't even need to necessarily just pick a number as far as.
Depends on who's asking the
This is
question.
your,
Well, I know.
this is your taxable valuation, and this is what it's gonna be.
If they don't want to
Or-
be, if they don't want their information out there on their business, we just use something similar, you know.
Right, I was gonna throw out a dollar.
Or don't say the
figure.
name of it, just
Yeah.
say, you know,
So I was wondering what kind of business comes to mind, well, those are the ones that
Yeah,
come to
we
your
can-
mind,
we
so I'll
can
grab
equate
one of
that,
them.
you know,
Cause I
have
usually
comparables.
say 100,000 a taxable value, well, that's a $200,000 house, and most of them are valued at more, you know, we have quite a few valued less than that, but
Most
anything
anybody
newer
can
is,
figure it out, just look at the tax statement, look at what your property is valued at, your taxable valuation, and multiply that, put 1,000 times the.
Yeah.
And,
But the easy one is to say you have a $200,000 house, it's actually valued at what you pay on a $100,000 valuation, so you're gonna pay $67.
that's the direction I'm going for what little bit I can contribute. If you want more from me, please
And
tell
so-
me
and
what it
many of
is.
those commercial businesses are gonna be less than that.
I think people are gonna be very interested in just their pocketbook. You know, everyone agrees that it's a great, we need better service. You know, it's just where the money's gonna come from.
well, the option's not real good, you know,
No, it's
the other option is, because if we don't get something done, the people that are already working way more than they should, maybe just say they have what they do, and,
That's right.
and
That's
a lot
right,
of-
because
a lot
they'll
of them
still be
are
able to-
Not exactly young anymore either, and, then there's really gonna be a problem. Because if we show a lack of interest in helping them out, why do they keep fighting?
Because they'll still be able to save their family members, because they're good at it, right?
I'm not exactly sure. I
You're
can
not
trust
worried about-
that, but,
Well, if you think of anything you'd like from me, I mean, please let me know, but that's what I'll have available on my end.
very good.
Again, I'm sorry that I'm throwing it all towards you, but I feel like it is better
It's our thing.
coming from you guys, but whatever we can do to help here at the city level, please let me know, because
I mean, this is a Winnebago County issue. It overlaps into other counties, but it's centered in Winnebago County is the problem. All three services are struggling, you know that.
If you talk to anyone who has a story, I think, you know, we all have stories, but it's gonna be better if it probably doesn't come
AJ
from
Taylor.
us. You know, then line them up and just say, you know what, you might be called on to tell us how fortunate you were, or unfortunate you were, or, you know,
think AJ's gonna be at it.
Yeah, I think so.
Did he get a hold
He's
of
a
you
big
too?
proponent of this because of how it really helped him, even though the outcomes eventually.
I can call him personally, sure, AJ and Rob.
He knows about it.
Yep, and Wednesday night was a non-sport night, so I was thinking he was gonna make it. Mark Scar wanted to get me on the radio, which did he get you? I wasn't in the office the end of the week but he wanted me on the radio on Monday morning.
Decided to go somewhere quick, me and the kids.
And I don't feel comfortable enough yet that I'm a spokesperson for it. But I can tell you what some of the concerns are, but we're getting some of the media out there, and I think if that triggers some
So
sparks
are you,
there.
since you're the chair, are you gonna lead the meeting and I'll run the slideshow?
You can delegate whatever you want.
There you go. I like the way you think.
Okay, if we're gonna do that, I'll do the one in Forest City, then Bill can do the one in Buffalo Center, and you can do the
There
one
you
in
go.
Mike Nels.
That makes perfect sense, actually. Absolutely. Good, and you can screw up first, and then we'll see how you.
Thank
I
you for
feel
your
like it's a
confidence.
learning thing. I mean, as you
It is.
figure out what questions people ask.
It's really just to keep people on task, I feel, on these meetings, so.
Because we're hoping on like an hour again, aren't we, if we can get through.
So they keep people informed, so they know why we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
just a lot of
no
people get,
smoke and mirrors here. We're
Yeah.
trying to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
We don't have the answers,
and in the end, it's all up to the voters.
but they gotta be informed. They can't just think it's about the money. I keep saying that. This is not about the money. This is about the service. What you don't know is going on with the service. I mean, just.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've only got one paramedic coming, so, I mean, I can reach out and make sure that
Well,
there's
as long as
some
we, I
coming from.
think a lot of it is probably gonna be the EMS part of it. You know,
Right.
the other services, all the services.
And I hope Beth's coming, like, near Lake Mills, you know, if she is making it.
Sure there'll be an Armstrong there.
I'm-
wouldn't there?
I'm sure
Besides
they're
Spencer.
Oh, I would just say,
looking forward to it, but I can call her.
probably won't be there unless
Yeah,
they're up there.
so if we can get at least one or two from each of the
It's
services.
just, problem is, they're probably on call.
That's why you get the most people at each town.
If they know about the meeting ahead of time, they could.
Yeah.
They might not be on call, but I'll bet my wife is.
And then we'll just make sure that everyone knows when the next meeting is and where.
We may wanna set that now, so we're planning.
I think so too.
We
So
probably
we can
do it
actually have that,
Heritage Town Center and
go to Buffalo next and,
suppose we should look at the calendar and see where it's the 16th of February, so it'd be about the 16th of March, but now we're into Lenten season. So what night of the week is that gonna be? Is that gonna be after basketball? It's after wrestling, I know that.
Well, basketball, the tournaments have already started, so unless your team has won, a lot of it's going to be over. So,
March 16th or? Oh, when would we have to have an advisory committee?
I mean, I think we have two meetings, we have to have two public hearings on the resolution of essential service. So I would like to see us set the next one following. So next Tuesday, we would set the first public hearing, is that right? Carla?
I wasn't listening.
After this meeting, and we feel confident to move forward on the next step, we could, next Tuesday, set the public hearing for the essential service resolution.
That's how, don't you have to do the resolution first?
Do the resolution, then have a public hearing,
I don't know, I need to read it again.
because I have a copy of it here.
But we could see if we could have the Buffalo Center meeting on Wednesday, the 9th of March or something.
You already started in Lenten.
Oh,
Can't be on a Wednesday night necessarily. You're gonna have to go to a Tuesday maybe, or Thursday, probably a Thursday
Thursday the 10th.
probably your lowest
meeting.
chance of having some kind of sporting event.
Have to check with the city council, try to not have them moved
A lot
off.
of times, tournament games around, they don't play this Thursday, if they won last time.
I'm wondering about if we go to the 24th of March, then we're kind of past those tournaments? Or is that,
The state tournament will be going on at the beginning of March.
yeah, that's what I was wondering, if we'd
Yeah.
be through all those tournaments by then.
Yeah.
Look it up. Iowa High School Boys Athletic Basketball Tournament. Okay, so the boys are the 7th through the 11th of March.
So the girls will be the week before that. Wrestling will be the week before that.
Wrestling's this week.
The state tournament already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? They're already,
Because my nephew wrestles at state. He got first place at district. He's a freshman.
oh, they're already doing the wrestling state tournament? I thought that was just,
He wrestles on Thursday night. So if that's the case, we could maybe go to the 17th.
because after the state tournament, then you've got a little bit of a dead time athletic-wise between half and beginning of track.
We could do the 17th because it's right after the state tournament. Just to keep things moving. And then we'll have to set, I don't know how far apart we have to set our public hearings. Would it be 2 weeks in a row, or does it have to be separation on those?
Well, it depends on your publication time.
Like, can you, like, say we have the resolution next Tuesday, and then we have public hearing from that time frame of the publication, what is it, 40 days or something? Or is it less than that,
It's
20?
usually between 10 and 20 days.
Okay. But then, can you also set the second one at that time?
I don't know, I'll have to read the code.
Yeah. Where they're just 2 weeks in a row.
I don't know. Do you have, you said you had the code with you?
17th of March.
That's St. Patrick's
I was
Day.
gonna say, we'll have to serve green beer.
Yeah, that
at it,
probably
so
won't work.
it's,
You might have to go to the next week.
well, we have green beer there, we'll go.
Is that a Wednesday or Thursday then?
Thursday.
That's a Thursday.
We could dye the Raging Buffalo Creek green too.
Would that matter that it was on St. Patrick's Day?
No. The actual St. Patrick's Day celebration will probably be the weekend following.
There aren't very many Irish in Buffalo Center, are there?
A
Not very
reason
many
to drink
Irish.
beer though, come on.
I did find out, according to that DNA, Dad, we've got a little Irish in us. Dad thought he was 100% Norwegian. He had one of those DNA tests and found out he's like 40% German. It's really upset the apple cart.
Interracial and, or.
I got it here, Terry. I looked it up.
Intermarriages.
Well, we're used to being dumb Norwegians. Now all of a sudden I'm a smart German.
We need a representative from Hancock County and Cassuth County to come to this meeting too, just to, because we go into Cassuth County. Do you know anybody? Or would that be somebody you would just invite to the meeting that was closer to Buffalo Center?
It's possible. It's a little short notice. But I don't know whether
Offer to drive them.
Okay,
one of their
So it says-
supervisors is
To be effective, the resolution declaring the emergency medical services to be an essential service shall be considered and voted on for approval at 2 meetings of the board prior to the meeting at which the resolution is to be finally approved by a majority of the board recorded vote, as defined in section 331. Notice of the first meeting of the board at which the resolution is considered and voted on shall be published not less than 60 days prior to the date of the meeting in one or more newspapers with that meeting, one or more newspapers that meet the requirements of section 618.14. The board shall not suspend or waive this requirement for approval of the resolution or approval of the imposition of a tax under this chapter.
2 months, 60 days.
Yeah,
So-
it's not any time soon. Should have been doing this before.
Mhm.
But we have to put it on our agenda to start that process.
Yes.
So we would have to have that document, which we have. There was a version here that was sent out. There it is. So we've got a version here. We gotta fill in dates and stuff like that, but, the number.
Is the second one 60 days too, Carla? They post a 60-day notice?
It says, the resolution declaring emergency medical services to be an essential service must be considered and voted on for approval at 2 meetings of the board prior to the meeting at which the resolution is to be finally approved by a majority of the board. The first meeting of the board at which the resolution is considered and voted shall be published not less than 60 days prior to the date of the meeting
So that's the first
in
step.
one or more newspapers.
You say nothing about the second meeting.
So as long as the first one is
First one
60
has to
days
have
prior
60
to the
days,
publication.
then the second one must not have that.
So we're 2 months out.
Plain language, you know,
Yeah.
Just dissect it.
so easy.
So
to
to me, it
understand.
sounds like we would be having this on file, make notice of this in the paper 60 days from now or more to that first meeting.
Julie.
here
Has left.
To start the process. And then I would say the notice could be in the same one for both of those hearings, couldn't you?
She's finding more that spells out. I hope it's not another 60 days. I mean,
That's
we're getting
expensive.
Yeah,
out here quite a ways too.
so you have to put both of them in the 60-day print.
And I would want to have all 3 publications have it because of the,
And if you could do them in one publication of all the dates coming
Yeah.
up, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Oh, the state legislature can't be that smart, can they?
well, it's the difference between Wright County when they did it before all this came about, it only required 50%. Now it requires 60%.
Which, if you can't get 60% on board with it, then I can't believe you're not done.
So is that something that we can actually do today? Make a,
Not actionable today. Can we do it tomorrow night?
yeah?
You don't have action on that either.
But have we formulated the agenda?
Yeah, it's already posted.
Okay.
But we're still more than 24 hours ahead of it, so you could repost it,
Amended agenda.
I
but an agenda.
suppose.
We've got to get moving on this if we're going to try and make a deadline. At least they'd feel like we're moving forward with something if we actually did an action there.
Of getting it in the paper, even if you send it to the paper, so it's in next week, that's your 60-day notice. You actually can't do anything for, next week is March, is February. Well, when are we out to, when you
March,
can
we're
actually
already,
do
we're already
something?
into April, so.
Yeah, we're.
What's the
we're
deadline in like Fort City?
Wednesday.
They're already back, used to be Friday.
Maybe you guys got more
That
pull
was
than
back
we
when we
do.
were doing
I have
the
to have
jail,
it to
it
them
was
by
Friday.
4:00 on Wednesdays for the following week.
Lake Mills, I know, I always could slip something in there on a Monday sometimes if we had to.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, Buffalo is Friday at noon, I think.
Yeah. Have you seen the circulation numbers?
I can still, if I
You
beg,
still have
I
that
can get
document?
Lake Mills and Buffalo Center to put stuff in for me on Monday, if I beg.
But not
And
Fort
there are-
City.
and they
Lowell
are-
won't do anything.
And they are our official papers.
Yes,
Fort
They
City
are.
is not our official paper because we can't afford it. Do you still have that document I gave you?
I gave it back to
Oh,
you.
you did, okay.
I took a picture of it.
Yeah, there's circulation for Fort City.
You don't get everything today. Just the
Well,
pictures. You
That's
got
all I
video.
do.
5,000.
But then you still gotta go find
I
it.
believe it. I believe
Yeah,
it.
but at least you got it.
Well, what do you want me to add?
Discussion with possible action, setting public hearings, setting public
And
hearings
Yeah, with an S.
yeah, for declaring,
Setting public,
We wanna go,
to declare emergency medical or
we want
EMS to be an essential service.
public hearing to be the first Tuesday after the 60 days then, because
Yeah.
we do it at our meeting.
Yeah.
So we have to figure that out. So
So
we'll go
we can
60
get it-
days from tomorrow night and the next Tuesday.
So it'll be published on, say, they come out on a Tuesday,
did you get that?
60 days from next Tuesday?
Discussion
It's
with
in
possible
the-
action for setting public hearings for what?
Declaring EMS an essential service
Winnebago
in
County,
Winnebago County.
in Winnebago County. That'd be really good if we could. It would feel good to have an actionable something to, move forward.
That we're not just all bureaucracy.
And that might be the headline then for the newspapers and radio station rather than how much is it gonna cost?
Because they're not gonna
everybody?
come here to see that.
I mean, AJ was all up in my business after, when he saw that we were setting this public meeting, making it sound like, again, we knew all these numbers and.
So
Come
that'll
to
be
a
on the
meeting.
agenda between the first part of it and ARPA? Or is it
Yes.
gonna-
If I had it right, it would be April 19th. Tuesday, April 19th.
So next Tuesday is the 22nd.
Yeah,
So it's 7 days to the 1st of March, so that'd be 7 plus the 31, that's 38.
Hey Brody, will you put, I made a new
22nd
agenda for the
Or so 22nd?
thing tomorrow.
19th.
Will you put that out on the
The
website?
60th day actually falls on the Sunday the 17th.
No, I didn't.
If I had counted right.
It's,
Just add it up.
I will when I get to my office.
So from there to there is 7. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so that'd be 35. 42, 49, 56. So the 26th of April would be the first one. Because it's in the end of the week that it qualifies.
And your meeting's on the 27th.
I must have counted wrong.
26, wasn't it? April
26 is what you said, yeah.
That's a
You
Tuesday.
just didn't
That's a
count the
Tuesday.
days left in this month, I think is all. Is what
I
happened.
probably did.
You might have counted from today, didn't you, or tomorrow,
No, I'm counting from
22nd?
the 16th and I started with the 17th.
So, yeah, April 26th.
So you can't technically count from the 16th. You have to count from when it's in the paper.
That's why I said the 22nd. I started counting at the.
So it's actually
I
the
didn't know all of
23rd, because
that.
they don't come out till Wednesday.
No, they're out.
I always count from Wednesday.
It's what the date is on the paper, even though
Yeah,
you may get it on
Buffalo's is
Tuesday,
in our mailboxes on Tuesday afternoon.
But
but
it's
it's the
called-
date.
But the
It's
date says
technically the
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
so you have to count from Wednesday.
Well, but still, the 26th still qualifies because it's the end of the week before, so April 26th is still,
It's still okay?
Mm-hmm, I
Okay.
think so. From what we're counting here.
because it was 56 days the week before that. So 57, 58, that Saturday would have been,
60.
so it's Sunday that it qualifies.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else other than coming up with, Talking
Content of the
points,
slides.
yeah, content for tomorrow night? And what time should we be there?
I'm gonna be there by 5:30, maybe.
Me too.
Get some chairs set up, and I'm guessing you'll want more of a thing on how many people we figured. Because it's usually just a bunch of round tables set up sporadically, but we might wanna have extra chairs more lined up
Spread out.
so they can see better.
If you want to be there that early, maybe you should pick up the key.
Or see if Andy's gonna be available, but
I can't get a hold of him right now, so,
I'll get a hold of Andy.
okay.
Somewhere between us, we'll get it done. They have free Wi-Fi in the basement, don't they? Just thinking they
Yeah, but you got to get a password from them,
Okay.
so you might want to ask.
Maybe I'll have to get that. Beth probably knows that. I can get it from her. She uses it all the time.
You're gonna be there at 5:30?
I think so.
Me too. I'll be
All
there.
right, I'll make it, I'll try to be there.
It's not a situation where you want
Actually,
coffee.
I just wanna
or
make sure I can, on my computer, bring up on the Wi-Fi valuations and stuff and
ran the
be
coffee,
able to
so
access it.
the time I did it before that, I brought coffee, I really drank it, so I had some bottled water there. Just in case you want.
anything. Late at night like that. All right. All right. I think that's all we need to
that.
do for that. We'll just show up and see what happens.
I feel better, got a little direction.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
We'll see you tomorrow night then.
And maybe I'll respond to the group that's on that email, just encouraging those people, you know, to make sure we have a couple representatives from each service and for testimonials.
Most of them are pretty vocal. I mean, when you talk about it, they're pretty passionate about it. Hopefully they'll be willing to stand up and,
I can stand up and represent my wife.
yeah.
It's, I watch the sacrifices that she makes. If we're not gonna try and take some of the responsibility off of the few, and they're gonna get bad attitudes.
Well, I think
But just
I
for,
think
you know-
it could be very interesting that your wife is probably on call and she can't be there to say that. You know, that you would need to speak for her. And that says a lot.
Is she one to want to stand up and speak, though? I don't think so.
Mm.
She didn't seem like that. When you're married to Bill Judville, it's kind of.
You don't need to.
She married me
Say what
because
he
I
wants.
do all the talking, right? I've got a canned koozie that says I don't need the internet, by the way.
Some people like talkers, people who talk all the time. All right. Let's see if we can get the auditor in here.
See
Thank
tomorrow
you.
night.
Oh,
Drainage
the
clerk.
auditor. No, drainage clerk, sorry. We have the auditor.
7511.
I was just gonna say, I think that's,
Hey, Chris, can you tell us about drainage? Sure, thank you. Couple minutes.
Okay, so let's just go through the slides. First one, maybe just a headline of the meeting, what the order of the meeting's gonna be, you know, probably our agenda kinda. And then, second one is gonna be what our issues are right now and
Know the problem.
identify probably on there that we're gonna have testimonials, whether it's from the EMS people or people in the community could talk about their thoughts.
Yep. And if nobody's there and willing to do that, we could throw in ours.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think the next slide could be the steps we have to take to accomplish anything.
Yep.
And then go through each step, and we can talk about later in the agenda. We have the ability to set the public hearings right there and then and there before declaring it an essential service, and what that means. But, and then the second step is appointing the advisory study committee. Or advisory, they call it an advisory study council down in the Wright County. I imagine we have to call it that, but it may change after the thing passes.
Might turn into a commission or a EMS council or
Just gonna see what they call it now on there.
I thought it was commission.
The code calls it an advisory council.
Yeah. But, you know, I'd want to be careful that I'd rather have a more broad advisory council before it passes to determine those things and then reformulate it into a smaller administration group after that. Good morning.
Robert Schwartz heard back from the NRCS regarding that tract up by Lake Mills. And evidently there is a triangle area that's on the south side. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so the triangle part, Lane Huber out of Algona feels that that area would be a good spot to put a spoil.
Okay.
But they would like to go out hopefully in March and look at it for the certified wetland determination to be completed. But he feels like that would be an okay spot, and I said this isn't critical that we get this done this second, so we can maybe wait until he goes out there. Just depends on if the weather will cooperate, if he has to push it back into April.
I don't think we were planning on doing anything out there till weather is better.
Right, that's what I was thinking, so I just wanted to let you know that we'll just wait until Lane can get us that determination.
Kind of lower some costs and
Mhm.
solve some problems. But they're parking.
Right, so,
Was that something you can just keep on your radar and check in with
Yes.
them in
Yep.
April then? And
yep. I sure will. So that's all I have for updates today.
And we're planning on attending that, is it Zoom or whatever, was it March 8th, that afternoon, the Soul and Water District 5-year thing, the one we missed when we had union negotiations.
Oh. They were gonna send an email about
I
that.
got one, did you?
Oh, no. Was it just last night? Because if it was just yesterday, I
It
didn't
was
get it.
last week.
But that doesn't
I got
have
it,
anything to
I
do
got
with
it.
drainage, right?
Yeah, it does.
What was the name of it? What was the title of it?
Because of what they do affects the drainage districts.
Okay, so is this something that I need to be at?
And it probably wouldn't hurt to attend, it's an online thing.
Okay, maybe you could send me the information.
I will
Perfect, thank you.
find it here.
That's the one that was,
The one that says, "Thank you for your attendance," and the next
Yeah.
one is Claire Carlson.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, you're all up.
I called them, told them we weren't available because we were at the last meeting. She said, not a problem, because we'll be doing it again
Yeah, here it is.
next month. The date and time? Clarifies it. Okay, I'll just look it up again.
March 8th, 2 o'clock.
The,
So we're just gonna do it from here, or are we just gonna just Zoom it, or what do
I
we?
think should
message me February 9th.
Just Zoom it, right? Yeah, okay,
You probably got it, I would guess.
yeah, I just didn't see it, I think.
I can forward it to you too.
Okay.
So if we're doing this by Zoom, I imagine we have to post it, don't we, as part of our agenda that day?
I suppose.
So I'll just put it on that agenda, 2 o'clock, we will be attending online. Oh,
Is March 8th a Tuesday?
It is.
But you won't stay around until 2.
no, we'll
Okay,
probably go home and do our thing.
gotcha.
Unless you'd rather all be here and do it.
How long the meeting was that day?
That's true.
Kill enough time eating pie to,
Do we have much on the agenda on the 8th?
I don't even have any made up for March. Nothing.
excuse me.
I don't mind sticking around or staying
We
until
could do it
2
here,
o'clock.
just
It
set
might
it
be,
up so we can see it on the screen. And
it might be actually more informative that
the
way.
only thing is we'd have to get Brody to set it up so they can see
Yes.
us.
Well, that camera up there is Zoom.
I think this one's for that purpose.
I guess I'd rather do it that way, to be honest with you.
All right.
Then we're here or
I was
here.
gonna say, you can always leave and come back too.
Yeah.
You know, you're done with the meeting by 10.
Except for I don't want to go all the way back, so I'll start right back. Here. I'll figure out what
Okay,
I know you will.
so I sent it to all three of you.
Thank you.
Trained professional.
So that just has to get posted again then? Is that how you,
It'll be part of our agenda
just
that
be
day,
part of the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay,
the last part.
Reconvening in 2 or whatever.
I guess I'd rather do that.
Nothing actionable, we're just participating. It's called a brainstorming.
Informational.
Anything else for drainage?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Open forum?
Suppose we gotta set both public hearings for that EMS, don't we? And just do it 2 weeks in a row?
I don't think so. So that's what I was thinking, is it
26th and then
maybe 26?
be like the 2nd of May.
Yeah, be right in there.
3rd of May. May 3.
Do you have to do 60 days between both ones?
It doesn't say
I don't
that.
think,
I think you said you can't start the process.
We're gonna-
for at least 60
We're gonna advertise both of them 60 days ahead of time, and have, do the one 60 days, and then the other one 67 days.
As long as they're both posted then, right?
Yeah, I would think that they didn't give us any information on the second one, so I assume it's,
Because man, that'd be really prohibitive if one was 60.
oh, yeah, it'd go 120 days out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you adjourned?
No,
Okay.
still working.
Is it still open forum? Okay. I was listening to your conversation, so I did some figuring on some tax increases for you. And some poor land out in Mount Valley, CSR 32.18. Assessment is $29,250, $17.45. The rate would raise them using 67 cents.
So wait a minute. CSR 32.18, value of 29,250,
Mm-hmm.
and that's for how many acres?
That one, I didn't look at the acres on that one.
Your value.
It was a parcel, so I'm assuming it was a 40.
Okay, well,
I can double check that for you. I did it so quickly that
sure.
And how much was the extra taxation?
17.45, using 67 cents.
$17.45.
Mhm.
That's the next question, what are we gonna use for our?
I think we just use Wright counties for an example.
Just go with the 67?
I guess that's what I did.
Yeah, that's what their example, we don't know what ours is gonna be.
So what does it change to
Well,
then
well,
with
depends on how much we need.
with
Yes.
one of the highest CSRs
Well,
then?
I pulled another one in Grant, and that was 80.94 CSRs. Assessment was 60,869. It was 39 taxable acres on that. And it was $36.31.
It just really helps to put it in
Really good
perspective for
40 is-
people.
Well, it was easy enough to do, so I thought it might help you out. I used an example in Forest City, a residential home, $100,000, 36.28.
So that, you're saying a value at 100,000, but the homesteading would bring it down?
100,000, but then once I did the rollback, and then I just took it times 67%,
Okay, and you said that number was what?
36.28. And then a commercial building at 75,000 would be $40.70.
That's helpful.
Good. And just one other quick thing. Schneider, that hosts our Beacon website, contacted me. There's some upgrades to the webpage, and of course, they're costing some more money. We don't have to get them. We can pick and choose if we want some or the package. When I spoke with her, she said a lot of the counties, if they have any COVID money, are using it. I know a lot of it's earmarked according to Carla for a lot of things. The whole package with the setup fee is $6,624. So it's not a huge expense.
So what does that include?
It includes, well, first of all, it includes one of the options that Scott and I were talking about, which would be, it could go as far out as we want to, but we've scanned all the plats and the corner certificates and things like that within our office. And how we've got it set up, it can be brought into the GIS and linked and pushed out to the web page, so that surveyors, property owners, whatever the case may be, would not be calling the recorder's office or our office. They could have access just right off the webpage. We could possibly, I don't know Chris's system and how it would work, but she could maybe talk to them and maybe we can link a deed to it. It would be down the road. I think a lot of things could be built onto it, but
So it's kind of a version that links things so that they have more accessibility.
right.
It's an access link.
The main thing is, like Chris has most of the documents scanned. I suppose it would be the format and the software. And that's beyond me without checking. And if we aren't gonna get it, I didn't want to spend any more time, checking into that. Like something like that is $2,200 for the setup, $672 a year hosting. There's also some options. We could have some forms, whether it be zoning, assessment, military, business, property tax credit. I don't know, voting registration. I don't know what, there's different things. I think we get 5 forms out there. There's another option. That would be used basically in our office. It's more mapping layers that would give, because you have to be logged into the site. as an administrator to be able to use those options.
So when you say more mapping layers, what?
It would link our pricing software into Beacon, where we could put all our sales up, and it would tell us, okay, this is the trend in this area, this is the trend here, so on and so forth, so we could, see where our values are and our sales, and just a little bit of additional help for us. There's a lot more sales searches for the appraisers, for people that want to appeal their assessments, or just people that say, I wonder if they're assessed the same way as I am.
The comps.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that like doing that. There's also a tax estimator where you could punch in the value of your home with a homestead or without a homestead and see what your taxes are going to be. And then right now, if you search the sales, you cannot export them out. And you could be able to download a digital copy of the comparable search results using Excel. And like I said, the original cost is about $6,600. The annual hosting for all of it is $2,472. So just some, and I don't know if
Okay, so go back, 6624 included what?
that's all the setup.
Okay, just setup.
Setup. And some of it has a one-time setup fee and no hosting, and some has a setup and hosting fee, annual. So after that initial $66.24, it'd be $2,472 per year for their services. And I can make copies of these too, so that you guys can look at them, and, but she said a lot of counties were using that money, and I thought, well, maybe this was, if there is any out there, the 6,600 might be.
Is it worth having it?
In my opinion, a lot of it would be very nice. It saves some work within the courthouse because people have those documents. Like during COVID, it would have been really nice. And now people are so used to that kind of stuff. There's quite a few counties that do have it now, and I guess kind of nice to keep up with them because everyone talks so highly about our website. But
So has Hancock ever allowed access to theirs?
to their,
Or can you go online and search any county?
yeah, you can, but they have Vanguard.
Okay.
That's the difference. Some have the Vanguard
How long have they had that?
quite a while, I think forever.
I could never find anything down there.
A lot of them aren't as user-friendly. Everyone likes Beacon. I mean, that, if they were
I've
gonna,
been on Vanguard before, just never knew they had it.
mm-hmm. And we've never looked at the hosting fees through them, but they don't have the abilities and they're,
I don't know, I hate to change now.
oh yeah, I would too. Mm-hmm. I would too, but I know it,
And the
but,
Vanguard I've been on, I'm not impressed.
well, they aren't really, I mean, they branched out from their appraisals
What does
and
Cassuth have?
I think they just went to Beacon recently.
No, last summer, I was looking on Cassuth, and it was really challenging to look something up.
Some have their own in-house. I know Mason City, I think they had their I don't know if it was in-house or if it was Vanguard, but they're now on Beacon as well, so.
I like the ability to scan on a map, zoom in and then click on each parcel and be able to bring up parcel reports off of each one. That's the best way to do it. For the search engines to find something.
Yeah, it's very user-friendly, I think, for the most part.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, driving down the road, oh, I
Mhm.
wonder who,
So then you pull off in a driveway and look it up.
And there was discussion when,
That's what's nice when you can hit the little arrow and it just zooms right in on where you're at.
pretty cool, isn't it? I like it too.
When technology works, it's wonderful.
I wonder, the property, I can't even say the name, I should know the name, but always when you first turn on the beacon maps, it always zeroes in on one property up there, by, Price Lake, and it always goes to the.
It's a history thing.
It probably just goes to your last.
Where you were once, and then it'll go back to that one. I have like, I just
Every
cleared
time I
off.
turn it up, it zooms in on the same
Oh,
property.
see, I just cleared off this morning about 8 different beacons, tabs, because none of them were refreshing properly, so I just had to get out of all of them. And one of them was Rice Lake, one was in Thompson, one was in Fort City, one was in Lake Mills. It depends on where I had been before.
To me, I've never been to where this one always zooms in, it just always, when I turn it on, it always zooms in on the same property.
Wants you to be informed about that
I
property.
did change hands here a little while back, get a different name on it.
Yeah, there was discussion when Beacon was an option, of charging people for it and help paying for some of the costs, but at the time, we decided that the taxpayers are paying for it and they should have access to it.
The pictometry we had talked about, allowing access there, but they wouldn't allow us to have more than so many seats.
There was 50 and you could pay more to get 100, I think, but we're only supposed to be able to share it with taxing entities and government.
I figured it was probably my house, that's why it was coming up there. You were
So
checking up on me.
we're outside of
Making sure I
that.
was paying my-
But it's available on Beacon anyway, you know. So, just food for thought, and I don't, like I said, I don't know where you're at on the discussion of the,
What's the deadline on something like that?
probably isn't one. I mean, I'm sure they're always gonna offer those services, but it'd be something,
We're kind of slow around.
just something that I thought would be, you know,
Where would that come out of, budget wise?
Well, she was talking about it could be used from ARPA.
Right, oh, sure, okay.
the original would be, and then I guess
We have places in our budget that pays for GIS
mhm.
too, and of course your budget too, so it's.
All the, Beacon comes out of the, either Brody's or General, I'm not sure where it is, and then
I was thinking there was, you want like.
It's in Brody's right now.
yeah, I was thinking, because then I'm paying for the, I think it's now 12,500, the, cost of the pricing software that we use, which is Vanguard.
I know it's been moved around over the years,
Mm-hmm.
budgets.
But if you would consider it, and then,
We're doing a flyover this spring then?
mhm.
I'll wait.
Yeah, and we're gonna have better imagery
Just
in the
don't be-
rural this time.
Just don't be standing out in your yard.
Yeah, you don't have to say it.
You're just far enough out.
Bill's in the pictures right now.
Yeah, no, it's picture dated.
Well, did you say, or am I wrong saying, that was there a meeting Tuesday? For the funds?
Today,
No, excuse me, was the 16th,
tomorrow night
Tomorrow.
at 6.
but that's for the emergency.
It's
I'm-
a goal.
As part
Oh,
of the
okay.
later- it's gonna
Okay.
lead into that discussion.
All right, I didn't catch that part of the meeting.
Because we wanted input from the community, how we should spend our,
Sure.
well, we got people here already, let's throw this at them.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna confuse them a little bit.
Well,
Since you're here,
yeah, we're gonna take advantage of this moment. Well, just thought I'd ask.
all right, thanks for the info.
Yeah, would you like a copy of the information she sent me?
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll bring it right back.
All right, thanks.
Anything for open forum? Anything else? Do you have anything on your desk over there?
I think I get everything off the desk.
Okay.
That's your number that you asked for.
Okay.
Consider for approval of semi-monthly county claims.
I'll make a motion to approve the sale of the county
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Jensvold, seconded by Derby to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion approves, consider for approval payroll claims.
That's just for the assessor for this time. We had some hiccups with the payroll.
So what happens with that then? It just gets moved to next
Yeah,
week, right?
You see, it's pickups with it. So
We got it-
out on
we got it done and then they had to start over. The packet broke and they had to do it. Yeah. Our new software is awesome. Yeah.
So this valuation here, does it include the turbines? Do the turbines help pay for this?
Well, minus the tip,
No, thank you. So,
so it's.
there was originally how this came up, like I said, I was talking to Scott, but at the time I told Scott, I said, well, you got the biggest budget, so if you want it, I'll check into it and you can pay for it. But in addition to what I told you, there was a setup fee for the deeds and plats and stuff, and a hosting fee, and that's on the last page. And I think it equaled, after that, I think it was like $75 a month for the plats and the deeds and stuff, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
thank you. I love peeking. I can just get lost on it, just
Just perusing
Looking around.
through and, yeah. It is interesting information.
So did payroll claims?
Yep.
We did.
You
Okay,
made the motion, didn't you?
No, I did it for county claims.
Oh, that
I
was
don't think we did
claims?
Payroll yet.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims.
I'll second.
motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold to consider approval of the payroll claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
What would happen if we decided not to pass them just once?
Try it sometime and see if that.
We'll get lots of phone calls
Is that right? If the payroll doesn't go
from
through,
the auditor
we don't pass
and
them,
every other county employee.
Yeah, I'm just giving them your number.
so- All right.
And what was this, that you gave to us?
That's the number that you asked for.
Oh, there it is. Interesting.
So we tax under, for EMS, we would tax under the general basic. Is that correct?
Well, it'd be, yeah. Because it's the entire county's
Every-
money.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody pays in the general basic.
So then I can show this to a farmer and say, you're not the only one paying. Everybody pays.
And that has been that's been what people have thrown, out to me is that,
Well, my answer to that one is as a percentage of our net worth, my taxes went up more than yours did. Because
So this would be inclusive
I just
of the
figured mine.
utilities then?
Mhm.
and it's gonna cost you $500.
Trying to
Yes.
understand how this reads.
Yes, this middle column
Yeah,
includes the utilities.
okay.
It's worth that to me.
So the utilities would be paying on it also.
Come to my house and I lose a loved one, it'd be worth a hell of a lot more than that to me.
Yeah, and it's this, I'm sorry, when I told you it was the six, it's
just
the
did
644,
Numbers, but.
656, 984 is the total value of the countywide levies.
This is a useful tool.
I'm trying to remember, what was, Wright County's target number they were using? Oh, the actual dollars and stuff, because they were keeping the dollars even every year.
Yeah, and then the levy changed, or the,
The levy lowered because valuations went up.
yep,
Yeah,
But I'm trying to think of what the code says on.
So did you say you want this notice in the Four City paper too?
Yeah. I
So
think
you want me to make a notice by tomorrow? What do you want it to say?
We don't have to worry about Four City being on time, because the others are the official ones, right?
you just want the people that are,
We'll get it in as soon as we can to Four City. If they'll take it, fine. If they don't get it until next week, fine. As long as there's two others,
two
will,
officials.
the official papers put it in time.
Okay.
That's how we look at it.
I think that makes sense.
to get it in the Four Cities, to just to get the few that may have missed it.
I just want them to see it.
Okay.
See it maybe a week later, but
It will be there.
then again, they probably sell more Lake Mel's papers in Four City than they do Four City papers.
Evidently.
Yeah,
According to the
because
numbers, somebody.
it's always available, I know, at Quick Start.
Can we stand adjourned?
I believe so.
Okay.